snapshot of what their traffic actually looked like at Minneapolis. The only reason we did Minneapolis was it's airspace we know, and uh, it's airspace that we had access to traffic data for a particularly busy period of time. So it's to be stressed that a lot of this comes down to know your own airspace and know how to apply these same techniques in your own airspace.
Yes. And also, Minneapolis is somewhat representative of at least a few ports in the U.S. as far as duals dependent goes.
Really follows a lot.
Yeah, and in fact, in a lot of places, a lot of the other, the major Core 30 airports, Atlanta, DFW, Denver, Kennedy, you can actually get away with less restrictive rules, but a lot of the basic separation techniques that we'll talk about apply universally because you're still required to maintain some form of standard radar separation until guys are on localizers.
That'll be something to go over too with basically where you can get away with certain rules and not.
Right.
Because so much of the real world rule book needs to really be thrown out the window in certain cases when it comes to VATSA.
That's fair.
Certain parts of it, at least.
Well, yeah. I mean, for example, we're just assuming that there's a final monitor, whether things
Correct.
like that. We're not, we're assuming there's a final monitor. We're assuming we have PRM in the places that need it, because we're going to apply the wingtip to wingtip rules. Otherwise, those places would effectively shut down. You'd need an extra controller on top of your final controller for each runway at that point.
Anyway, we still have 3 minutes. Okay.
Give it about 5 minutes. Give it about 5 minutes, and then get started.
Yeah, call it that.
Okay. Daniel, do you have the slides? Can you just
I
the slides, or?
do have them. Yeah, I can pull them up.
Okay.
Start up the Jeopardy.
Are you on S yet?
I will be in a
Slides.
second.
All right.
Look at these slides.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right before we get started, let's just make sure everyone's on mute or is even pushed to talk. That way we don't get anyone talking in the middle of it. Other than that, we'll start at the top of the hour. Drew and crew, I'll hand the entire thing over to you.
So, you guys like stuff?
Yeah. Stuff's cool.
Great talk.
Oh, that piece of work.
50, or was it 5 more minutes? We'd be hoofing. That's what the contract said.
Work. For those that aren't aware of the joke, go look up Living the Dream on YouTube.
1, 2, and 3.
I think there's a fourth too.
Yeah, there's a fourth that came out
I think so.
late last year. It is must-watch humor.
The stop animation is fantastic.
Yes.
Academy Award worthy.
Really? There's a viewer cap?
Oh, good. DC apparently might have had another janitor test.
Wait, there's a viewer cap on the stream?
Yeah, apparently it's capped at 50.
Okay, well, if you want, I can open up another stream.
I mean, yeah. You have like 2 monitors, you can just restream my screen.
I don't have permissions to do
just
that.
stream.
No, dog. I heard you like
Yeah, just stream,
live streams.
stream.
No, just stream my stream and stream.
You can't stream into this channel. Okay, well, that foils that
plan. I guess the other option. Well, I guess the other option is AJ. Are you on? Are you streaming this via Twitch?
I can throw up.
Nope, Austin got it.
Okay. All right. So
If you look at
Daniel's
my
stream
screen,
is
it
full,
should be able
join
to see
Austin's stream.
Yeah.
But mute your stream.
Yeah, I'm on Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah. Alternatively, you guys can go check out AJ. Twitch.tv/ ground_point_niner.
I can do third if we need it.
Yeah. How many people are in the chat?
A lot.
About 70.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yes. Very much interest. Thank you guys all. Anyway, it's about the top of the hour. You guys want to kick this off?
More people able to stream in here, or did you figure it out?
We got Austin doing it.
Yeah. If you guys can't get to mine, then go to Austin's stream. He's restreaming mine. Having a little streamception going. Anyway, I will go ahead and kick this off now because it is 12:01 Pacific here. Welcome to Maximizing Your Airport's Final, the VATUSA Masterclass. Today we'll be talking over basically just how to pack your final to maximum efficiency. Going through a scenario here in Minneapolis approach. It's based on, like Drew was saying, the Thanksgiving traffic real world on Thanksgiving 2018. Shane Van Hoven, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us today, made the scenario, and we've been screwing around with it ever since. But it's real traffic. There's a lot in there that can be used to teach this class. And yeah, anyway, going into the purpose of the masterclass, kinda we're putting this together because final at an FNO or at any busy event is just so important. You can, deliver perfect 10 MIT or whatever, 20 MIT, whatever your TMU guys are requiring to an airport into a tray gun, and your feeder can set it up perfectly, but it all falls apart when the final can't pack the final. You've got, 8 MIT on your final with like one runway, or, you're running duels with like 10 MIT on each runway. You're not packing the airport to, what can be realistically expected on that sim. I'm not saying, 2.5 with one plane over the runway perfectly stacked like they do at like A80 or something in the real world. But, we can shoot for something better than that, obviously. Anyway, introductions. My name's Daniel. I pretend to be a sweatbox driver in the real world at a center. If it's any consolation, the tools that the government has for their equivalent of sweatbox are not much better than the ones we have available on VATSIM. Moving down the list, Mr. Bright.
Hello, I'm with TA at Minneapolis. I also work at Atlanta Center in the real world. I'll be running the north side of the final, which is what we're kind of going to base everything off of here. And I'll kick it to Drew.
Currently the ATM at Minneapolis, also work at Minneapolis Center in real life. Currently halfway through training. I was in radar school and all this shut down, so this is really my only opportunity to talk to airplanes right now.
Yay, that's it.
But again, I'll be running the south side of this final. We'll be talking about how to properly interact and make parallel runways work as a team, because that is exactly what this is. One of the big things that is a very important facet of being an effective controller is how well do you work with everybody around you, and that's just it's something that I think we can all improve on yet.
And Mr. Deckler.
Hello, my name's Ryan, former ZDC, ZOB ATM. I've held everything except FE here. Former VAT USA 3, currently real world Miami, who did talk to planes before this all stopped, so I'll stop working. I'm here basically just to provide some other extra insight. It's just an extra body here to say some things and have my opinion on how this stuff works. I think we got one person left. Who's left?
Brad.
Tice, yeah.
That would be me. Brad Tice. Where am I home controller at now? I don't really remember. I think Minneapolis is where I call home at this point. I've been around on the network since 2011. I'm currently an air traffic controller at D21 real life. Before that, I put in almost 3 years at Oakland Center. So I have perspective of both work in the center environment and the Tracon. So I have kind of a cool insight to both sides of the coin, I guess.
Yes. All right. So I guess before we kick off the scenario here, we'll go over a few things. So, Brad, we'll get started with you in the slides. So, first one here is Tracon best practices. Go ahead and walk us through it.
Well, first I'll hop on with something here real quick and kind of hop on a soapbox for a moment. We were talking about how en route environment, feeding the Tracon, having the perfect 10, 20 miles in trail, and yes, the final is that crucial spot. But I've been noticing lately at the center environment, there's been a lot of over controlling stuff. So that might be something we want to look at going forward for another master class. Because sequence does start hundreds of miles away from the Core 30 airport. So into the slides, I guess, if you want to hop it down into the next one about the 3-speed concept. This one's when we're getting more closer into the airport. There are more than just 3 speeds, but close into the airport, 3 is generally what we'll use. For scanning and separation techniques, generally we'll start from the closest to the airport and work our way out. And then we'll also talk about the use of positive control of how we will maintain altitude during turn-ons to the final. Close into the airport, basically 3 speeds are best: 250, 210, 170. And the reason why we'll shoot to use these 3 speeds is really for consistency's sake. 250 slowing to 210, you're going to lose about 1.5 miles to 2 miles of separation before they hit the speed, and then slowing from 210 to 170, you'll lose about 1 mile to 1.5 miles roughly. For scanning, which is on the next slide, again, we're working from the inside of the airport out, primarily looking for overtakes, where aircraft are, trying to figure out lead-in times for turns from the downwind to final, etc. Separation, that one also talks on the next slide there, just about using positive altitude for vectoring into the gap, use vertical. And this is more so when talking about putting a guy from from downwind, base, final, in between 2 aircraft that are already established on the final. Although when vectoring 2 airports on opposing bases, you'll use vertical there as well. What's the next slide there, Daniel?
It is lesson review.
Okay, yeah. So basically just kind of recapping what I talked about there, and that's the end. So moving on to C to A, if you have that one.
Yes. Find the right one here. That should be it.
So this is really the meat and potatoes of what we're going to be talking about, of how to vector to final. Hop down to slide 4 for me, because that basically recovers what we did. So who's who in C to A? A is going to be the aircraft furthest down the final that is already established. The C aircraft is usually one that's already established further. So again, this goes back into what I was talking about earlier about moving a guy from the downwind, putting him onto the final between 2 aircraft. As you can see, based on this concept here, both aircraft A and B are assigned 170, aircraft C is 210 knots. For general spacing on a final, aircraft nose to tail, you want roughly 4 miles when they're established outside of the final approach fix, assigned 170 knots. That'll compress down to roughly 3 to 2.5, depending on winds. In this scenario, we have 10 in trail between aircraft C and aircraft A. Talking about what we were earlier, we're slowing from 210 to 170, you lose about 1.5 miles. If we want 4 miles nose to tail between aircraft C and aircraft B, how far do we let this compress before slowing aircraft C? Anyone can shout it out if they know it. Answer would be 9.5. So at 9.5 miles, basically where he's at now, we'd slow aircraft C from 210 to 170. And this is in order to compress down to 8 total between C to A, And aircraft B, we're going to put in the middle at 4. So there is now 4 between A and B, and 4 from B and C. Go to the next one there for me. You're actually down 2.
Separation.
Yeah. Again, vectoring into the gap, use vertical. So aircraft C in that, aircraft B in that previous slide, you would join either 1,000 feet below or 1,000 feet above the aircraft already established on the final there. The next one, Daniel.
Here.
This one is a little less important. This is talking about, go to the next slide, it'll kind of explain this. Talking about lead-in headings of establishing yourself on a downwind. The nice part is at most of your large airports, this is already going to be done by the arrival. It's going to be important when you start working at your major airport and start becoming familiar with finals. You're going to want to learn how far the downwind that the arrival has them on, how far that is from the final, because that's going to determine at what point you're going to turn your downwind to a base heading. The next slide basically just shows kind of what we were talking about here of the 3 different lead-in headings. This would be on runway 28 procedures, and then the next one basically just shows the star at Detroit, where the lead-in headings are basically already done for you. Sorry, Rona, I guess. Next one.
Yeah, so I think that last slide basically talks about, all your RNAV arrivals are generally built to generate those tracks without you really having a vector to it, which is kind of one of the big advantages of all these Metroplex arrivals that we're getting now.
Exactly, and just like this says, it's the downwind gets positioned between 4 to 5 miles from the localizer at most of the core 30 airports around the U.S. There are some that are a little closer, a little farther. And we'll talk about why that's so important here on the next slide. All right, so this particular aircraft, aircraft B, the downwind of this arrival establishes them on
this knowledge.
Say what?
Anyway.
This particular arrival establishes aircraft B on a downwind heading 5 miles from the final approach course. If we're shooting for 4-mile gaps on the final outside of the final approach fix, we're going to turn aircraft B 1 mile prior to being a beam of aircraft A, which is kind of what you see here, where it's showing the lead-in for the base turn. We want 4, we're off the final by 5, you turn a mile early. If your downwind establishes you 4 miles from the final, you'll turn a beam aircraft A, and so on and so forth. So if you're 6 miles off the final, you're going to turn 2 miles before aircraft A. Yeah, you can go to the next one. And then this goes back into the slide that we already saw previously. Go to the next one for me, Daniel.
Sure.
So this is talking about the approach gate. Hopefully all of you understand the approach gate. Do you think we need to go over this, Drew? I don't.
It doesn't hurt. I think,
Okay.
to basically, I mean, we all, by this point, one of the things that we teach as S3s is mile outside the approach gate, or mile outside the approach, or final approach fix is your approach gate. That's effectively the closest you're ever going to intercept, and that there are very specific conditions when you can do that. And can if anybody wants to shout out the answer, what are we typically looking at to intercept final? And under normal circumstances, what's the minimum we can intercept final at outside the final approach fix? Oh, that's right, everybody's muted. My bad. Brad.
3.
Right. So 2 miles outside the approach gate. So 3 miles outside the final approach fix, which in a lot of cases at your big core 30 airports, you're also generally using the fact that 3 miles steps you down 1,000 feet. So there's usually a step down fix about 3 miles outside the final approach fix that you can aim at as an intercept point. So it usually makes a good point of reference.
And to kind of parallel on this too, visuals versus instrument approaches, you want to control during busy traffic in visual conditions. you don't necessarily need to be running the ILS to make sure that everyone's doing what they need to do, but you want to control the situation similar to as if you were running an ILS. So you don't want to just turn and base and then, yeah, we got the airport in sight, cleared visual approach. Give them a heading, fly heading, whatever, until established on the final cleared visual approach. I'll just use mine, runway 22 right.
Hey, Daniel,
What's
can you tab out to a 7110 and pull up chapter 7, section 4 real quick?
Chapter 7, section, whoops, size inspect element. Section 4.
Yep. Because I think Brad brings to it's not just a good idea, it is actually technically in the book now, especially for all these big airports where we're running parallel runway 7-4-4.
7-4. Oh, 6. Here we are.
So if you want to zoom in to, I think it's, yeah, when conducting visual approaches to multiple runways, there's that. So it kind of falls into a few different categories. So less than 2,500 feet, you're effectively treating him as one runway. He has to see the guy for the parallel in sight and be instructed to maintain visual separation prior to giving him approach clearance. Most of us fall into the greater than 2,500 feet category. And then it's either less than 4,300 feet. So like, for example, at Minneapolis, we have to fall into this where, it says parallel runway separated by at least 2,500 but less than 4,300 feet. Approved separation is provided until you're established on a heading or a direct course or cleared to an RNAV instrument procedure that will intercept the extended center line at an angle not greater than 30 degrees. So to Brad's point, you're still very much controlling their intercept prior to clearing them for the approach. So it's almost a hybrid of vectoring them to an instrument approach and then clearing them for a visual.
And then if you look down in the note, it shows exactly why we're doing what we're doing, to prevent the intercept angle and to reduce the potential of overshoots. I can remember one a few months ago where I had cleared a guy for an approach, blew through it, had to issue traffic alerts, break guys off the runways, and came pretty close to having a deal because of it. Thankfully, the pilot turned in time and he didn't end up getting a pilot deviation because I didn't lose SEP. But yeah, definitely issue the headings.
Back to the slides.
Affirmative. Here's another thing that I see a lot of people doing. Is they'll use 170 knots or 180 knots until whatever their final approach fix is. And the final approach fix, let's say, is maybe 7 miles or so from the runway. This is going to cause a lot of compression on your final. If you have 4, you're going to be ending up running to probably less than 2.5. Just because of how far it is from the airport and different speeds on final. So I'm a huge proponent of maintain 170 knots until a 5-mile final. 170 till 5, and you'll keep your 2.5, no problem. Next. So the 250, 280, 300, those are going to be used when you're farther away from the airport and where you're essentially going to be speeding up. This is more from a feeder side. And we'll talk about that once we've kind of hammered out some of the final stuff. Go to the next slide for me. So this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with 3 nautical mile spacing decreasing to 2.5. You do a 4 nautical mile interval on final prior to the final approach fix assigned to 170 knots. Now, wake turbulence. Drew, what's the current stance of VATSIM or VATUSA and Wake Recat?
I think there hasn't really been an official stance. I personally don't teach it to my guys because we don't have a convenient little data block field that shows a recat category.
Sure.
So I just tell my guys standard non-recat wake turbulence. So, shoot for 5 behind the heavy and you can't go wrong.
Okay. So essentially whatever your spacing is for wake turbulence, add 2 miles. So if you need 5 behind a heavy, you're shooting for 7 on the final. If you're behind a super and you need 8, you're shooting for 10 behind. which really is a large gap, and it feels wrong having that big of a gap, but it's what's got to happen. It sucks. Next one for me, please.
Can I throw one more thing in there on that last
shoot.
concept? It's also important to note that the whole 3 miles at touchdown or 2.5 miles at touchdown, that's typically only going to be on runways that are exclusively being used for arrivals.
Correct. Yes.
So, for example, like the Minneapolis scenario you guys are going to see yet, these are both, we don't have the benefit of 2 sets of parallels, so our runways get used interchangeably, arrivals and departures. So really, at a place that's arrivals departures, if you want to give your tower controller a chance to push out departures, if you run a 3 mile on trail final, your tower controller is going to be ready to kill you by the end of the event.
Yep.
Actually, he
So-
probably will have killed you by the end of the
Yeah,
event.
he'll have, yeah. So what you'll see during the scenario that we run is more of a 6 compressing to 5 at touchdown, or a 7 compressing to 6 at touchdown, in order to gap for departures.
And this comes back to knowing your own airspace and your own flow at the airport that you're working.
Exactly.
If your runway doesn't have high speeds, 2.5 isn't going to work. In fact, 2.5 is not legal if your runway doesn't have high speeds. You would have to go to 3.
Yeah, and that's also important to note that 2.5 mile spacing is also only within 10 miles of the runway, correct?
Correct. Yes. Next slide for me. I think is basically just a repeat of the previous slides. Hop down again.
Do you guys want to add in there the utilization of same runway set with the 2.5?
Say that again, Austin.
Do you want to talk about same runway separation as well with the 2.5 compressed final?
Are you talking about from like the tower side?
Yeah. Do you think that would really be much to talk about here or no?
I guess that is a fair point. I guess. Some towers or local controllers, I should say, rather, can get a little squeamish with 2.5 in trail. As far as issuing go arounds, the same runway separation states that you have to have with turbojets that we're going to be dealing with primarily at our airports. The aircraft has to be clear of the runway prior to the aircraft crossing the landing threshold. The key word there being crossing the landing threshold, not on a mile and a half final, which I've seen happen. So don't be sending people around willy-nilly. It's quite ridiculous.
Or you get pilots that hit minimums and go around because there's still a plane on the runway. That would have been clear if they were over the numbers.
Right. Well, the other thing
That
there
too.
also is that this is VATSIM. Guys don't always do a expeditious job of clearing the runway. So if I'm working local during an event and I know I've got a guy 2.5 miles in trail, I'm telling the front guy, hey, plan minimum time on the runway, traffic 2.5 miles in trail, or traffic 3 miles in trail. Just part of it comes down to expectation management on the part of the pilots too. And then I'm probably telling the back guy, just to prevent it, hey, separation exists, still clear to land.
Yeah. I mean, working local at San Francisco for multiple events. I mean, I'd see people on a mile final when I launch a guy off the ones. He's through the 2.8s. The guy's on a mile final, and they go around on their own. It's ridiculous.
It's
but
frustrating.
it's something that you have to deal with. And to Drew's point, it is helpful to paint a picture for pilots. Be on the same page. Don't don't be over wordy and send yourself down the crapper from trying to explain things too much, but still try to be clear and get the point across of what's going to be happening. So when vectoring aircraft onto a final, can you go to the next page for me? We're doing it based off of aircraft that are what we call fixed. So they are established on the final and on speed for what we're targeting. So if our target speed is 170 knots, I'm not going to use a guy that's established on the final doing 160. I'm going to go to the next guy that's established on the final doing 170. And for note, this isn't indicated. This isn't ground speed. That's the readout on radar. This is the airspeed that we have assigned. Excuse me.
Next.
Yes, please. this isn't so much important to VATSIM per se. Well, yeah, I guess it kind of is.
I think it comes down to
So
don't waste mileage early on when you don't have
exactly,
airspace.
yes. That is the complete concept of this, and the thought process behind the initial, middle, and end is in the initial part of the rush, we're keeping aircraft fast. We're not slowing back down to the 210, whatever, way away from the airport. Maybe we're deleting speeds on the arrival, telling them, hey, maintain 250 knots. We're trying to get them to the airport and on the ground as fast as we possibly can. So we're not doing all of these set 210 on the downwind, 170 on the final. You can kind of get away
Yeah.
from some of that and get the airplanes there as fast as possible. The middle phase is when you're going to start pulling things back. The traffic's increased. Now we're going to start going back to basically the set procedures that we have for that airport of doing the 210 on the downwind, slowing to 170, turning final. And then the end of the rush is like the initial, you're coming out of that and you can start speeding things back up. Next slide for me.
And
Yeah.
it's important to note there that you might not be assigning speeds. It may be, if you don't want him necessarily slowing down as you're starting to build up, the number one or number two airplane, the first couple in the lead of the pack may be told instead of 210, you might say 210 or greater, and then you give them the approach clearance, and instead of 170 to 5 miles or the final approach fix, it might be maintained 170 or greater, just so that you're putting a floor on it, but you're also giving the pilot the opportunity to slow.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed just flying on the network on a day-to-day thing, not during events, is that people still like to run people out to like the 5,000 or 6,000 foot fixes because, at any airport with like duals or triples, just because, that's what the SOP says to do. If you've got nobody else in the final box, there's no point in running people out 20 miles.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, visual approaches and conventional wisdom is aim for anywhere between an 8 to 10 mile final on visuals and anywhere between a 12 to 15 mile final on instrument approaches if there's no other traffic. Brad, you correct me if that's incorrect.
Yeah, for the most part, and that would be in like less traffic situations.
Right.
More traffic. I mean, like trips here at Metro, you got to run out to about a 20-25 mile final minimum.
Right, but that's because there's altitude constraints involved with
Exactly. But yeah, very good point, Daniel. If there's no traffic, dump them. If a guy says he has the airport in sight and there's no traffic, clear him for the visual and see what happens. I mean, seriously, like it's not rocket science. Especially in these days with the corona and whatnot going on. Being at work, the Delta, Southwest, Spirit, I mean, I've seen them tighten it up on like 3 and 5 mile left bases. It's been awesome.
Yep.
It's great.
The other thing to note then though is dump them, but other kind of common errors we see a lot is dump them, but keep them in your Bravo, please.
Yes.
Yeah, that too. And we'll kind of go over that concept as it applies to Minneapolis, probably at some point during the scenario. Just setting up separation. Anyway, wind.
This one is very hard to teach from a PowerPoint. It takes practice and actually doing it, which doesn't really help you so much, but essentially run some airplanes, see what compression is doing. If 4 is getting you only 2 in trail, then bump it back out to 4.5, 5. And then you basically have your spacing now. And it's all about trial and error. Okay, this one compressed a little too far. Halfway through your event, you start realizing that you have 3.5 miles at touchdown, then start closing it back up. Drew, would it be best to show like techniques of where on the final to turn aircraft from base to final based off of your scenario that you're going to be running?
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, we can kind of teach a couple of the techniques. Obviously, the 1/10 of the indicated ground speed, or as I'm getting more and more fond of, the 30-second PTL.
30-second PTL is so good.
Yeah. Another thing, just speaking of wind, is it also can affect what altitudes you should be turning on at. So at Minneapolis, for example, for our deep freeze event back in January, it's been long. We ended up flipping around our low and high side. Traditionally at Minneapolis, the south side, 12 right, 30 left, is the high side. So we turn on at 5 usually. And then the north runway, 12 left, 30 right, is the 4,000 foot runway. But for example, if the wind is heavy out of the north and you're feeling it, just in the final box, what you can do is you can flip it around. So the south side becomes the low side, and that gives planes coming off the downwind turning base extra time to dive down to 4 to get below guys joining the final at 5, instead of having to scramble to get people down to 4 on the north side with the wind at their backs. Basically giving them just extra time to get to that altitude.
And this is kind of, I think, leads in a little bit to talk about back slightly to speed control. And that is when you're in situations like that, you do not want to be turning from downwind to base above 210 knots. You will blow through that final faster than you'll believe, and you're going to be running up the butt of the guy you already have on final. From downwind to base should not be any faster than 210 knots. Ideally, you're more like already slowing to 170, although not all necessarily required.
And there's a lot of polarizing opinions on this. Minneapolis, for one, loves them some 190 as an in-between speed.
Yes. I'm same here at Detroit. 190 is used a ton.
It's a very versatile speed because it's still fast enough that you can use it to close a gap, but it's slow enough that you have some control over the turns. Whether or not it gets used a lot, I mean, like for example, you talk to the guys at Chicago, they're a 3-speed airport, 250, 210, 180. They will not deviate from that.
170, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, 180 or 170. I think they've
Yeah.
kind of, I think conventionally, I think they've gone to more of a 170. But O'Hare also likes to run a 2-mile and trail final with we got a waiver for that.
You guys
I'm-
should show the M98 guide to speed control.
Yeah,
I
where
need
is
to
that?
dig
Yeah,
that up.
Daniel, you got that?
You got a
that?
link, because I might have it saved on my hard drive, but also
I
I'd have to
got
go
it.
through like
Let me
thousands of
find
pictures
it.
of trains to find it. Actually,
to,
I can probably
to
grab it from
Drew's
the
point,
TeamSpeak.
though, somewhere like A80 is kind of more of like a 4-speed, 250,
Connected.
230, 210, 180.
Let's see. Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Disconnected.
the 170 is not necessarily a hard and fast rule. Just know that the faster you are on final to either 5 miles or to the final approach fix, depending on what's out there. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, that is from an actual debrief at Minneapolis Tracon.
Yep, exactly.
Where'd you put it?
It's just
it's
up
on
in
the stream at the moment.
Oh,
So
there we go.
So and that literally goes back to everything Brad's been talking about. 210, you're still getting the sequence in place. It's starting to come together. 190, you need to start slowing down. You're closing it up. 170, we're locked in, like you said. And then if you need slower than that because you turned a guy a little early, you turned a guy a little late, things like that, it is doable. You know, the section in the 7110 and 5-7 does say lower may be assigned if operationally advantageous. If I'm going to have a deal, if I don't slow down to 160, you're damn right it's operationally advantageous for me to slow him to 160.
I'll throw something out here too. I'm kind of more of the opinion that the 160 is similar to like a 190. But below 160 is definitely the oh crap moment.
Right.
If you're having to do, and this is just my opinion, if you're having to slow somebody to their final approach speed or reduce to your slowest practical speed, and you're, let's say 4, 5, 6, well, maybe not 4, but if you're 5 miles or more from the final approach fix, you should basically just go, I've screwed this.
Yep,
That
spin.
aircraft is coming off the final, and you're going to assign 190 to the guy behind him and try to close up your spacing with the guy behind him. There's a certain point where you need to cut your losses, because when you start slowing that final to more than 160, the entire final will go to hell in a handbasket.
Exactly. It's a domino effect.
Yeah. Right.
That really, I think, wraps up as far as the PowerPoint stuff. I think once you see them actually working and we can explain the C to A with actual traffic of where you base to final and stuff, that'll make more sense for you guys.
Yep, and we will pause at certain spots to kind of highlight key things, because there are a few kind of gotchas in the scenario. I think there's a couple cases where feeder screws up and gives you a stack, or
I think
there,
feeder
you
is
know,
the deal
Yeah.
in this scenario.
a couple
Pretty-
ties or things like that. So there are,
Oh,
you know, and then then you get the dreaded turboprop shows up at some point. So
Yeah.
Should we talk about feeder sequencing now or give that a little bit of time?
We can talk about it kind of as it plays out
Yeah.
if you're good with that. The problem with this particular scenario is they don't spawn at the Tracon boundary. They spawn about the point where Final's taking track control.
Mm.
So,
That's all right.
but we can kind of talk about, this is what a feed looks like. For instrument approaches, the general thing is you want to, as a feeder controller, you have all the space, you have all the tools. You want to generally set up guys to a point where you're feeding your final controller, 7 to 9 miles in trail, depending on what your constraints are on the instrument approach. So that if you're feeding the final guy 2 streams at 5 miles in trail, you're really not giving him anything to work with.
No, you're not giving them anything to work with. You're literally sending them down the crapper.
Yeah.
It's not maybe. So this kind of goes back to the whole 4 miles on the final, if that's what they're running, 4 to 5. If you're giving them 2 streams of airplanes, aka bases and downwinds, which is usually what most airports are set up for, you can't be giving 4 on each feed. You have to be giving at least 8 per feed. So downwinds are spaced 8 miles in trail, and bases are spaced 8 miles in trail, because he's got to take that 8 and turn it to 4 in trail on the final.
And this comes down basically to the domino effect of everything. It's if your center controller feeds your feeder a stack that they can't sort out in time, it's going to fall into the finals lap where they now have to fix it. So everything that goes on, each piece will play a role down the line. So if you're a center controller and you're not delivering 10, 15, 20 in trail, it's only going to get worse. So
Right.
it's all about domino.
And that's what we're talking about. This all starts with the final controller holding up their job and keeping the final packed when you get busy. Because if the final controller is taking longer to get airplanes out of the final box, basically onto the ground, if you're not getting them on the ground quick enough, it backs up feeder, it backs up center, it backs up the tier 1 center. It just creates this cascading problem up the road. So
Yeah.
I think we're talking about
Like going to
keeping
ground
your
stops
airport
and holds and everything
exactly.
else.
So
All the fun.
So anyway,
And
Before
then
you get started on this, can I touch on something real quick?
yeah, go for it.
This comes down to, again, knowing your facility. If you look on the final here at Minneapolis, they have hashes and spaces on the final.
Yeah.
Each hash represents a mile, and each space represents a mile. So they're strategically spaced out, although it looks like you have one kind of near the airport where it's got a bigger gap inside the final.
Yeah. Well, I think that the final terminates at the 2 mile cutoff because Tower uses the same map. That's their 2 mile cutoff
Gotcha.
for a launch.
Yeah.
I gotcha. But outside of that, because you can see where the final approach fix is, you're going to be joining outside of that. So outside of that, hashes are a mile, spaces are a mile. And this is how we can judge how far an aircraft is down the final in order to turn base to final or downwind to base. And then we'll also show some techniques of how you can use J-balls, although that can get messy quick.
Plan on going through some of the V-Stars tools.
Yeah, Daniel, can you brighten up the map and the ring?
Oh yeah, sorry. Do you guys, if anybody needs the font size bumped up too, then I can do that as well.
Do it.
The other thing that's very invaluable that I don't see being used enough is your range rings aren't just there to look pretty; they're a tool.
Mm-hmm.
If I know that if I've got about an airplane every range ring, that's a 5 mile in trail final that'll compress to about 4. So really, I'm shooting for about, I'm shooting for a little more than a range ring between airplanes. If I want 5 at touchdown.
All right, so I guess we'll move into the airspace. So this is Minneapolis approach, M98, the Great Minneapolis Tracon. A few things to go over before we actually start running the scenario. This is Minneapolis Airport right here in the middle of the range rings. The scenario, like we were saying, was Thanksgiving Day, 2018, just all the real traffic from that. We'll be showing you the north final approach position, or N, which is these data blocks. And I'll go to the airspace here. So, let's see here. This is the 1217 configuration final box, so you can see within the 10 mile ring, the final owns from 7,000 to 6,000. In this little area, within about the 6,000 foot fix, the final owns down to the ground from 7,000, and then pretty much from there on out, it's either 2 shelves at 6,000, or between 7 and 4 or 7 and 5 way out far. As far as the approach chart goes, here's what we have to work with. So there's the 3,000 foot fix Washi, Hamel is 4,000, Allergen 5,000, then You Betcha and CJ for the 6 and 7,000 foot fixes. And I'll show you those on the video maps too. So we got Weza, Hamel, Allergen, and then 6, 7 here at the 20-mile ring, I think.
Yeah, so the outer marker symbols are 3, and then every tick outside of those goes up 1,000 feet. It's also important to note that you see that outside that area where final owns down to the ground, they only own down to 4,000. That conveniently fits with the fact that the Bravo only goes down to 4,000 in the final box.
Right, yeah. Just need to play with the brightness a little bit here. Second. Okay. Yeah. So, I'm gonna go John Madden here for a second and draw this out. So you got your 1,000 foot, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then these two ticked kind of lines here are 30-degree intercept lines. I'll kind of draw it out here. These dashed lines here and here are your intercept lines. So this one here you can see is at the 5,000 foot fix. That, like I was saying earlier, is where we typically are joining the final. Because the high side has to join at 5,000, if you're running simultaneous approaches at Mini, you usually have to join around this fix. So there's a 30-degree intercept line there, and then there's a 30-degree line at the final approach fix itself, the 3,000 foot fix. And then these long dashed lines here are your 3-mile fixes from the adjacent final approach course. So this is 3 miles. Very good art there.
That's something
so,
key on. So then you can look at that. That's per SOP. The low altitude runway has to be level at their turn-in altitude prior to crossing that line on base, and that's so that you've ensured vertical separation from the high altitude guys' airplanes before you cross that line.
Well, that's a special addition to the SOP, ain't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, separation is in the SOP.
Glad we don't have that in ours.
Yeah, no, and that's so that's the case, and you'll see it at Atlanta, you'll see it at O'Hare, you'll see it at all these places that are on multiple parallel runways. Your low altitude runway will turn a 20-mile final down super low.
Yeah.
By design, you'll be level at 4,000 for 8 to 10 miles on final, or whatever your low altitude. In a triple configuration, typically you'll have one of the outboard runways be the low runway, the center runway will be your high runway, so then it's 2,000 feet above one side and 1,000 feet above the other outboard, which is typically the middle altitude runway.
Yeah, like what O'Hare joins the low side at like the 5,000 or 6,000 foot fix at 4,000 or something like that.
They join the low side at 4, they join the middle at 7, and they join the high side at 5.
Yeah.
Sorry, the middle runway at 5, and the center runway is the high runway, and that'll join at 7 typically.
There you go. That makes more sense.
Words are hard.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, so
out of curiosity, are those adjacent lines your 30-degree intercepts there? Is that for the VAPA?
Is that for what?
The visual approach.
Yeah, that's visual approaches. So basically, the way they typically use them more is if they're inside of that 30-degree line, they can clear direct the FAF and clear for the visual, or clear direct the IF and clear for the visual if they're inside. That's just ensuring that if I clear the guy direct the FAF or I turn him in from there, it's less than a 30-degree intercept to final.
all right,
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, moving into the scenario as I was saying, it's the 12-1-7 configuration, arriving 1-2 left, 1-2 right, departing 1-2 left, 1-2 right, and 1-7. It's IMC, and yeah, basically you're stuck to using ILS approaches, and yeah. Anyway,
so things to take away from this: the descend vias spit the downwind guys out at 8 and 230 knots.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here as well.
You can see there. So there's the arrival. That's what the arrivals do. So getting back to the whole, what Brad was saying about lead-in headings, you can kind of see the arrivals are built to generate those.
Yep. So yeah, the bases shoot them out 7 and 210. The downs will shoot them out at 8 230. And then I'll pull up the Bravo map here as well, so you can kind of get a feel for what Bravo looks like. Probably not get rid of it. So you can see out to about the very end of the final box. Actually, let me shut down. Just a sec here. So about to the 30-mile ring, 4,000, and then at about the 10-mile ring it goes to 3,000, and then 23, and then the surface area around the airport. Yeah. So anyway, we'll I guess get this started. If Lance, Gecko, Bright, you guys all good?
Yep.
Yep.
Hello, I am North Approach Pseudopilot.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So for the purpose of the scenario, we'll start with he's got a delta level at 6,000. Final would have already given that descent, so you can assume that that first delta with 12 left is already on his frequency. So the first airplane to call him will likely be Skywest 7414, still descending via the arrival, and then I've got my guys on the south side. We ready to run?
All right.
Yep. Whenever you're ready, count it down.
3, 2, 1, begin.
Approach Sky 7414, 9,300, descending via the arrival.
Sky 7414, Minneapolis approach, descend and maintain 6,000.
6,000 Sky 7414.
Delta 793, descend and maintain 4,000.
4,000 Delta 793.
So I guess
You want to go first or second to start it off, Chris?
I'll go first.
Okay.
also we'll be getting into the concept of talking to your other final controller here, which is a key part of a key part of working any split final or independent final or whatever.
Keyword there is being dependent finals.
Right. So case in point, my asking him if he wants to go first, because I have to stagger off his airplane to begin to set this up. So by me asking him if he wants to go first or second, that's directly controlling at what point I'm going to slow my first delta.
So Minneapolis, because the runways are dependent, I think it's they're 3,000 feet apart between center lines, and I think so that's 25 to 36 is the rule, right? It's mile stagger.
Delta 793, turn left heading 210, maintain 190 knots.
Speed 190, heading 210 Delta 793.
So this is going back to where we were saying if you have nobody in the final box yet, you can just start cramming them in early. So Delta 793 is probably going to join inside that 5,000 foot fix, but he's number 1, so it'll work out.
Skywest 7414, maintain 210 knots or greater.
Sky 7414, 210 or better. Approach Delta 868, leaving 1,500, descending via the arrival.
Delta 868, Minneapolis approach.
Pretty sure you guys would be a mile and a half, not a mile.
It's reducible to a mile now.
Oh, is it? Nice.
Yeah.
Used to be a mile and a half.
Because I know at Detroit we have a mile, mile and a half, and 2.
Skywest 7414, descend and maintain 4,000.
4,000 Sky 7414.
Delta 868, maintain 250 knots.
Speed 250 Delta 868.
Delta 793, 4 miles from Hamel, turn left heading 150, maintain 4,000 till established localizer cleared ILS runway 12 left approach, maintain 170 knots or greater to Washi.
150 heading and 4,000 to establish cloud ILS 12 left. Will maintain 170 better to Washi Delta 793.
Delta 868, descend and maintain 6,000.
6,000 Delta 868.
Skywest 7414, turn left heading 210, maintain 190 knots.
190 on the speed, 210 on the heading, Skywest 7414.
Delta 793, contact tower 123.905.
2395, Delta 793, see you.
So case in point now, like on the south side, that's probably the closest my final is going to get all night now, because once we start getting loaded up on the north side, I have to make sure that we're established outside the 5,000 foot fix and give him enough room, because as soon as my guys cross the 5,000 foot fix, we lose vertical separation. So
Skywest
we're gonna need to go further
7414,
out.
Skywest 7414, maintain 170 knots.
Speed 170, Skywest 7414.
At this point, he's going to turn Skywest 7414 based off of how far Delta 1672 will be down the final.
Right, and in order and in a way to help him out, I'm still at 190 knots there.
Hey, Daniel, J-Ball 3, Delta 1672.
Ball 3.
Skywest 3576, Minneapolis approach, descend and maintain 6000, maintain 210 knots.
6000, speed 210, Skywest 3576. Hello, approach Delta 551, 9200, descending via the arrival.
Skywest 7414 is 3 miles from Algin, turn left heading 150, maintain 4000 till established localizer clear house 12 left approach, maintain 170 knots to Washi.
Heading 150, 4000 till established, cut ILS 12 left, and we'll maintain 170 to Washi, Skywest 7414.
Delta 551, Minneapolis approach, roger, descend and maintain 6000.
Delta is 551, down to 6000.
Delta 868, descend and maintain 4000.
Delta 868, 4000.
There was something key that he did there. He didn't answer Delta 551. He went straight to Skywest to turn him on. That's key.
Frequency management.
Know who to talk to, when to talk to him.
Delta 551, turn right heading 200 and maintain 210 knots.
Speed of 210, heading 200, Delta 551.
Hey, Bright.
Yeah.
What's your sequence?
My sequence, Delta 868, Delta 551, Skywest 37 or 3576.
And that's an important thing to remember is if at any point somebody asks you that question and you do not have an answer, then you have done something horribly wrong.
Delta
Something has
551,
gone.
descend and maintain 5000.
Delta 551, down to 5000.
Skywest 7414, contact Minneapolis Tower 123.905.
123.95, Skywest 7414, good day.
Delta 551, maintain 190 knots.
Delta 551, slow to 190.
Delta 868, maintain 210 knots.
Speed 210, Delta 868.
Skywest 3576, descend and maintain 5000.
5000, Skywest 3576.
Delta 868, turn left heading 210.
Heading 210, Delta 868.
Delta 551, flighting 210.
Heading 210, Delta 551.
Skywest 3576, descend and maintain 4000.
4000, Skywest 3576. Hello, approach Limburg 6254 is at a 9500, descending via the arrival.
Limburg 6254, Minneapolis approach. Delta 868, maintain 190 knots.
Delta 868, speed 190.
Limburg 6254, descend and maintain 6000.
Down to 6000, Limburg 6254.
Brad, to answer that comment, give it 10 minutes.
Delta 868, maintain 170 knots.
Delta 868, slow to 170.
You want me to go first, Drew?
With 868? Yeah, go.
Delta 868, descend and maintain 3000, turn left heading 150.
Left turn 150 down to 3000, Delta 868.
Delta 551, descend and maintain 4000, turn left heading 150, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Left turn 150, join the 12 left localizer down to 4000, Delta 551.
SN, point out.
Yes.
Delta 551 descending 4,000.
Approved, yes.
You guys want to pause quickly and talk about what's happening with 3995 and 868?
Paused.
Yeah, we're paused.
Sure. So, right, why'd you drop Delta 868 down to 3?
I dropped Delta 868 down to 3,000 because Skywest 3995 is about 2 miles from beginning his descent. I need 1 mile in between those two, and right now, I don't exactly have it.
Yeah, but
So
I'll
by
slow.
descending him, I can speed my guy up a little bit more from the 170. Drew can slow his down to 160 or 170, and that'll gain our mile by the time.
By the time we lose vertical.
Yeah, by the time SkyWest descends to 4,000, leaving 3,900, and then ideally it'll work out.
The key there, though, is that Skywest 3995 will have to be issued a heading to join and an altitude to maintain not cleared.
Right.
Because if he's cleared, it doesn't matter whether there's 2,000 feet or not, or 1,000.
Right.
Alright, all good?
So, it may be one of those where he gets stepped down and cleared at 4,000 once I know that we have it. But yeah, that's the key thing there is we're taking the step to stay out in front and ensure vertical separation.
Where's the 3,000 foot shelf for the Bravo? Because ideally, I think Delta 868 would have been like stepped down to 3 and turned sooner because SkyWest was already getting pushed out, and you
Right.
could go 3 behind SkyWest 4493.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's at about the 10 mile.
It's just outside the 10-mile ring.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anyway, good. Get it going
And
again.
the other thing that he pointed out is that he was going to break the 3-mile buffer with Delta 551. So technically, he's just whether or not it's the explicit definition of a point out there. He's just telling me, hey, watch this guy. I'm not going to be below your traffic.
Right.
Which was which is key thing. So again, talk to your other final controller if there's 2 of you.
Yeah. Don't be muted and unreachable.
That's the worst thing you can do. Yeah, mute. That drives me nuts.
Also, keep it in mind that you might not be all that busy working an event, but another guy in your channel is. So keep chit chat to a minimum. If you want to go chit chat with somebody, go to a different channel.
Yeah.
That irks me to no end during an event.
Yeah. Or if people aren't respecting that, then you, as the busy controller, go to a different channel and you're reachable and unmuted.
Yep.
If somebody needs to find you.
I mean, that's something I would encourage, honestly, management at facilities, though, is when you see something going on, if someone's busy and people are in that room just chatting it up, move them out.
Yep. So Chris,
Yeah.
looking at this with where we got Delta 868, if you need to cut your losses right now, what's our plan?
If I need to cut my losses, Delta 868 is going to left turn to 360, and he's going to stay at 3,000. I'm going to speed up. Well, I'm going to keep Delta 551 moving in, put the Delta 868 behind my SkyWest 3576, and then Lindbergh will follow Delta 868.
Right. The consideration there being is you've already got a 12-mile gap between SkyWest and Lindbergh, so if we have to pull them off the final, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to too when I was asking Bright what his sequence was, is you should have some plan. It might not necessarily be the right plan, but the important thing is having a plan and executing it. If you're just kind of throwing planes at the localizer and hoping it sticks, then something has gone horribly wrong.
Something to keep in mind with that, too, is also just like what Bright had, and that's plan B. If this doesn't work, where am I putting Delta?
Yeah, because don't ever be afraid to take an approach clearance away.
Yeah. You can just cut your losses, pull the guy out, and try again. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's a lot better than, a deal. Or letting somebody run behind him, up his butt, like 1.5 miles at the runway, or something like that.
Right, because, at some point, your tower controller is going to go, yeah, F that, send him around, and then you're talking to him again anyway.
Yep.
And then at that point, he's not in a spot that you planned for him, where if you broke him off now, you already have that gap. When he gets to the airport, who knows what the gaps are going to be coming down the feeder corridor.
I don't know, do we want to demo that?
Sure.
Let's go for it. All right, you guys ready to hit play? 3,
Count it down.
2, 1, let's go.
Delta 868, turn left heading 360 vector for resequence.
Left turn 360, Delta 868.
Delta 551 is 4 miles from Ubecho, maintain 4,000 till established, localizer, cleared ILS, runway 12 left approach, maintain 170 knots or greater to Washi.
170 better to watch you. 4,000 till stops. Clear Alice 12 left. Delta 551.
Limburg 6254, maintain 210 knots.
Speed of 210. Limburg 6254. Approach Delta 2440. 10. Descending for the arrival.
Delta 2440, Minneapolis approach.
It's VATSIM. Mistakes are going to happen. We just it's a matter of how quickly can we recover from them.
Delta 868, increase speed, maintain 200 knots.
I pick it back up to 200 knots. Delta 868.
Sky was 37, Christian Sky was 3576, turn left heading 190.
Left turn heading 190. Scouts 3576.
1489 didn't take the turn. I'm gonna wind him back in.
Roger.
Also, very much a thing on VATSIM. You issue a base turn, guy reads it back, doesn't do it, and then you got to yell at him to make it do it again.
They have to think about it before they do it.
Yeah, well, this guy's taking forever to think about it.
Yeah.
Delta 868, turn left heading 310.
Left turning 310. Delta 868.
Your
Approach
Sky West is faster. Keep him fast. I'll go behind him.
Affirmative.
Approach
Sky was
Scouts
35.
3609. 9000. Descend is 7.
Sky was 3609, Minneapolis approach, maintain 210 knots.
Speed of 210. Scouts 3609.
Sky was 3576, turn left heading 150, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Left turning 150. Intercept the 12 left localizer. Scouts 3576.
Limburg 6254, descend and maintain 4,000.
4000. Limburg 6254. Low approach. Delta 1517. 107. Descending via the arrival.
Delta 1517, Minneapolis approach. Delta 2440, descend and maintain 6,000, maintain 210 knots.
6000. Speed 210. Delta 2440.
Sky's 3576 is 7 miles from Allergen. Maintain 4,000 till established localizer. Clear ILS. Runway 12 left approach. Maintain 190 knots or greater till Washi.
Okay, 190 better to wash. 4,000 till established. Clear ILS. 12 left. Scouts 3576.
Delta 868, turn left heading 210.
Delta 868 left turn 210.
Delta 551, contact Minneapolis Tower 123.95.
123.95. Delta 551.
Sky was 3609, turn right heading 220, descend and maintain 4,000.
Right turn 220 down to 4,000. Scouts 3609.
That ain't gonna work. Sky was 3609 to min altitude, maintain 5,000.
Alright, maintain 5,000. Scouts 3609.
Sky was 3609, maintain 190 knots.
Slow to 190. Scouts 3609.
Delta 868, turn left heading 150, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Left turn heading 150. Intercept 12 left at 868. And approach Scouts 3609. Just verify the heading of 220.
Sky was 3609, affirmative, turn right heading 220.
220. Sky was 3609.
Delta
Let's take it.
24, Delta 2440, descend and maintain 4,000.
4,000. Delta 2440.
Delta 868, 3 miles from Ubetcha, maintain 3,000 till established localizer, clear ILS, runway 12 left approach, maintain 180 knots to Washi.
180 to Washi. 3,000 till established. Cleared ILS 12 left. Delta 868.
So now we've kind of got the stagger figured out. Now a lot of it comes down to run your final, keep one eye on the other side every now and then, but run your final.
Sky was 3609, descend and maintain 4,000.
4,000. Scouts 3609. Approach Boutique 821. 5,000.
Boutique 821, Minneapolis approach, roger, flighting 210.
Heading 210. Boutique 821.
Oh
Sky was
no, a
30
turboprop.
Sky was 3576, contact Minneapolis Tower 123.95.
2395. Scouts 3576. See it.
Sky was 3609, turn left heading 150, intercept 12 left localizer, maintain 170 knots.
Okay, speed of 170. Left turn heading 150 to join 12 left. Scouts 3609.
Limburg 6254, turn left heading 210, maintain 190 knots.
Turn left heading 210, speed 190, Limburg 6254.
Delta 1517, descend and maintain 5000.
5000, Delta 1517. Approach Scouts 3813, 10.5 to Cinevia.
Scouts 3813, Minneapolis approach. Delta 868, maintain 170 knots.
Slow to 170, Delta 868.
Might need to slow 3609.
Probably. Scouts 3609, maintain 160 knots.
Slow to 160, Scouts 3609.
Delta 2440, maintain 190 knots.
Speed 190, Delta 2440.
Delta 1517, maintain 2. Delta 1517, maintain 210 knots.
210, Delta 1570.
For the record, that deal
Limburg.
is clean.
Limburg 6254, turn left in 150, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Left turn 150 to join 12 left, Limburg 6254.
Delta 868, contact Minneapolis Tower 123.905.
123.95, Delta 868.
Limburg 6254 is 5 miles from Ubetcha, maintain 4000 until established localizer. Clear ILS runway 12 left approach, maintain 170 knots. Limburg 6254 is 4 miles from Ubetcha, maintain 4000 until established localizer. Clear ILS 12 left approach, maintain 170 knots.
Sorry, wrong button. 4000 and 170 until established cross 12 left, Limburg 6254.
SCOUS 3813, descend and maintain 6000.
Leaving 8 for 6, SCOUS 3813.
Delta 2440, turn left heading 200.
Left turn 200, Delta 2440.
Boutique 821, maintain 190 knots.
Boutique 821, speed 190. Approach Delta 2152 is leaving 9.8, sending via.
Delta 2152, Minneapolis approach.
This Delta isn't taking anything. I put in the heading in 3 times.
Which one?
2440. Oh, hang on. There it goes.
Delta 2440, flying 180.
Heading south, Delta 2440.
Boutique 821, maintain 170 knots.
Slow to 170, Boutique 821.
SCOUS 3609, contact Minneapolis Tower 123.905.
2395, SCOUS 3609.
I'm splitting Delta and Boutique, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Boutique 821, flighting 150, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Boutique 821, heading 150, intercept 12 left.
Delta 1517, maintain 190 knots.
Speed 190, Delta 1517.
Delta 2440, flighting 150, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Heading 150 to join, Delta 2440.
Limburg 6254, contact Minneapolis Tower 123.905.
123.95, Limburg 6254.
Delta 1517, descend and maintain 4000.
Delta 1517, 4000.
SCOUS 3813, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 210 knots.
210 knots down to 4000, SCOUS 3813.
Delta 2152, descend and maintain 6000, maintain 210 knots.
Down to 6000, speed 210, Delta 2152.
Boutique 821 is 2 miles from CJ, maintain 4000 until Hamel. Cleared the ILS 12 left approach, maintain 170 knots to Kins. I'm sorry, to Washi.
170 to Washi, 4000 till Hamel, clear ILS 12 left, Boutique 821.
Delta 2440 is 3 miles from Elgin. Maintain 4000 till established localizer. Clear ILS 12 left approach. Maintain 190 knots.
Speed of 194,000 till established, clear ILS 12 left, Delta 2440.
Well, missed my gap with the Delta. Delta 1517, turn left heading 210, maintain 19 at cruiser, maintain 170 knots.
Slow to 170, left turn heading 210, Delta 1517.
Can we pause this for a second?
Paused.
So let's explain why first, because I think some people might get a little confused of what's clean with Delta 2440, 2921, and Boutique and how that's working.
Okay.
So Boutique and Delta 2440 are both assigned 170 knots to the final approach fix, which will hold. Boutique is going to go slower, obviously, on the final, once passing the final approach fix. So your 3 is going to roll out to even more behind the Delta 2490. And then you guys said it's a mile stagger, and Delta 2921 is splitting the 2. The key here with missing Delta 1517 on the downwind is now the south side can go ahead and take 2, maybe even 3 behind Boutique, and SkyWest will follow in behind. So this is all about situational awareness, understanding what the other guy has, what we're splitting, and then communicating to go, hey, I missed my turn with this guy. Go ahead and run.
Yep. And that was kind of when I asked from what I was thinking on the other side is when I asked Chris, hey, am I splitting Delta 2440 and Boutique 821? As soon as he said that, I already had Delta 2921 going to a 30 heading. I immediately made it a 40 heading because I'm like, okay, I got to get in front of that Boutique, which means that my base heading needed to be adjusted and I needed to make the appropriate adjustments to kind of tighten up behind his Delta, knowing that he's going to slow Boutique because he needs his own spacing and I can fill that gap.
It looks, and this could just be the whole thing of Sweatbox and the way it joins a final.
Yeah,
but it looks like Delta 2440 isn't.
They cheat.
Yeah, because technically that intercept would be an illegal intercept. He'd have to be down to 3 for it to be legal.
Yeah, they turn a lot. It's a weird thing in Sweatbox, but
So right now, I missed my turn with Delta 1517. I have a couple options. I can either leave that gap, try and tighten up Delta 1517 to follow the Boutique, or what my primary plan is stuff SkyWest 3813 behind Boutique.
yeah. So
go.
here's your C2A moment.
Exactly. By the way,
I'd like to point out something, Daniel. If you want to zoom out, this is a good.
Sure.
This is kind of where one of the throw the min sep tool up between that American and SkyWest 7452.
Sure.
Hey feeder, don't do this.
yeah.
So, as a feeder controller, you want to stop. You want to stop, or you want to figure out who's going first, probably before they hit the 20-mile ring in this case. So in this case, I looked out at that. SkyWest 7452 is assigned 250, and I've already got that American slowing to 210 from a feeder standpoint. Because he should, keyword, and I may need to look at it, that may be a case where, yeah, the primary plan is use speeds to let him run out in front, but this may be a case of you tell you take Americans descend via away, step him down reference until you have something in trail figured out.
Wow, I can't type.
Right, and Daniel makes a good point there that you measure out the time that American already has more miles to run. If you slow him, what is currently about a 4-mile or 5-mile gap turns into a little bit more.
Or you slow him too much and then he nails the guy who's behind SkyWest 7452 and you just tied him up instead of giving him more space.
True.
This kind of might be a decent time to talk about the whole feeder spacing since you transitioned over to this.
Yep.
What's the mile gaps you're trying to shoot for same runway?
It's between 7 and 9, really.
For same runway?
For same runway, about 7 to 8, combining the two. If we're combining those two streams there.
No, not from a feeder perspective. On final, what are we
Oh,
shooting
final?
for?
6 compressing to 5.
Okay, so this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. If you have downwind traffic with, do we have any down or base traffic currently? No.
Not at the moment.
No,
Damn
there's not. There's nothing yet. There'll be a few
Nothing
that pop
ever.
in.
Yeah, some stuff pops in the Bane. I don't think anything ever hits the Torgy.
Anyway, if the final needs 6 and you're giving them 6 on both streams, it's never going to work. I mean, they're going to go from where they're at now at a 15-ish mile turn on. They're going to be pushed out to the back of the box, which is aka the back of finals, and they're going to be pushed out. And you've seen the events before where all of a sudden you're out in center's airspace because 2 things have happened. One, final isn't maintaining their 6 in trail on the final that they need, and 2, feeder is going, oh, they need 6, so here's 6 from both streams.
Right.
It doesn't work. You got to do 12 from both streams if we're going based off of that concept.
Right. So in that case, if your center's been giving you 10, you know, when you see the final push out past the 20-mile ring, that's your time as a feeder controller to tell the center, hey, make it 15. It's a matter of, I was working at Denver F&O on center, feeding the Tracon 15 miles in trail, and I could see the finals out the back of the box. And I asked feeder, hey, do you need more space? And the literal answer I got was, no, we're good. Finals hosed though.
Yeah.
So as a feeder controller, if your finals hosed, you're hosed.
And then the center's hosed, and then all of the pilots are hosed.
Right. So you don't operate in a vacuum. That's the key takeaway.
You are a team, and as a feeder, you're supposed to be setting up some kind of sequence to your final to follow. So even just based on gate demand, right now there's nobody coming in on the base to 1-2 left, so you can kind of let it rip on the feeder, right? Or on the downwind, right?
In this situation, you're talking about with like Scouts 3782?
Just, yeah, in general, since there's nothing coming in on the Baney or on the base right now, you can, run people closer on the downwind stuff.
Right now, you could do 250. But I mean, sometimes 210 is ideal just because it gets it into a manageable speed range.
Yeah, I'm just saying in general, you can pack in the downwinds a little bit more, right? Just because there isn't demand on the base. And then once, you have people coming on the Bane again, that feeder should be building gaps on the downwind again as that demand rises for the final to hit with the Baney. If that makes sense.
Just small behind a large. I assume we're going with 3. Wake recat.
Well, yeah.
Let's recap.
Speaking, you'd need 4.
Yeah.
And this is why if you can learn wake recat and basically just go common sense with your upper heavies, basically just learning upper, lower heavies, and then 7.5s. If you can learn those, basically everything else is standard separation. It's glorious.
Right.
Yep. I don't have handy letters in our dialogues.
Is there a way to request? Is there a way to request talk power or just unmute? Does anyone have questions up until this point?
Have them post it in like general or something.
Yeah. Yeah, can we throw it in training general if you have questions?
If you've disconnected and reconnected since the permission was removed, you should be able to talk. If you haven't done that, just post them in training general.
Just to throw out, we do have another D21 controller in here, the Justin pilot down there.
Oh, cool.
He's certified feeder finals. I only have sats left.
Nice.
So to go to that point, Chris's idea of putting in Scouts 3813 and then following with Delta is exactly what he was saying you would do.
Yeah, so you miss a turn, and it happens on the network a lot. Guys miss the base turn. It blows my mind how it takes guys 5 miles to make a 90-degree turn. Kalen, wake recat is it started out in the at a lot of the major cargo fields that were getting hit with having to do a ton of heavy to heavy wake turbulence, and they basically in conjunction with ICAO did some did some research and reevaluated what wake turbulence requirements actually need to be, and basically found that you could, in a lot of cases, be less restrictive with wake turbulence and make it more granular as to considering the type and basically reclassify. We're used to the 3 categories or the 4, I guess: small, large, heavy, super. They basically broke it into 6 or 7 categories that are a lot smaller divisions and let you kind of shave a half mile here, a mile here.
Which really adds up. I mean,
Yeah, it
it's
does.
amazing how much closer you can run airplanes. Until Detroit had the new Wake Recat, which is what, version 2.0 or some
Yes.
version
Are
2,
you guys
whatever it is.
CWET now or whatever they're calling it? Consolidated Wake
Yeah,
Turbulence
exactly.
Recatter.
We had to do extra spacing between aircraft that were VFR in the Bravo airspace and regular large. So Cessna 172 in the Bravo versus a 7.3, it had to have 1,000 feet vertical separation. And then once we fixed Recat, we could go back to the 500 feet.
Okay.
It was ridiculous.
The 1.5 mile lateral still applies there, right? For 19,000
It did
pounds
not.
or more. Oh, it doesn't apply there?
We're back into it, yes, now.
Okay.
But under the Recat that we had, it was extra spacing there too.
Okay.
Nolan, to answer your question, the heavier speed control with the boutique was to make space for the Limburg and the Delta. It's generally easier to slow down the props. They take less time. They can get there sooner. He was already far out. I'm just trying to build space. At this point, my plan is to reduce him to 160, keep the Delta 2440 faster. I still have the 190 speed on him. All I'm doing is just watching building space. Before I switch him to tower, I'm going to give him 170 knots.
Yep. The other thing to watch out on my final is, Brad, we've kind of created the Delta Hub worst nightmare: 737-900 behind CRJ 200.
Mm-hmm. It's no bueno.
Yeah, and that comes down to a lot of this comes down to know your aircraft performance characteristics. A 739 is going to be, his ref speed is probably anywhere between 15 and 20 knots faster than that RJ.
At least.
Yeah. So that may be one of those cases. That may be one of those cases where I'm assigning 160, knowing that if I give him 160, he'll slow maybe another 5 or 10 knots inside the marker if he slows at all.
I was gonna say, some of these 7.3s going in out of Detroit, I don't even hardly see him slow inside the marker.
Right.
To answer Joe's question about the stagger, on an event, if you have a dual purpose runway, so you're running arrivals and departures off the same one, it's the stagger.
I think he's talking about, what are we shooting? You have to keep the mile staggered basically to the ground.
Yeah. So
yes.
The Limburg 6254 and the SkyWest 5420, I can go down to a mile in between those two, and nothing less by the time they get to the ground. Ideally, each runway would be 6 miles in trail to allow tower to get somebody out. Right now, that's not going to happen with Boutique, Delta 2440, and Limburg, just because of how it worked out. There's not going to be a gap there. Ideally, you'd have somebody on the north side runway, 3 miles staggered on the south side runway, 3 miles stagger on the north side. That gets you your 6 miles in trail to each runway, plus maybe 1/10 or 2/10 of a mile. And tower can get somebody out, and we can keep the flow into the airport. Ideally, the north side final, in this case, I should be intercepting at the 6,000 foot fix every single time, just to ensure that my person is going to be established before they lose separation with the person on the south side final at 5,000.
Jason, typically this scenario is kind of an end of the line M98 training scenario, and usually while Bright was talking there, I went back through a few students' training reports. Usually they got certified in M98 within 15 to 20 hours of training time, not including SMT, just in training sessions.
Yeah, and this is typically this is not one we require before you certify. This is a hey,
No.
you're done. You want to challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a fun one.
On mine, it's like I have like between 30 and 40 hours before I got M98 certed, so it is one of those after certification things.
You were 24 and a half, slow boy.
24 and a half? Oh,
Yeah.
Whatever.
Not including SMT.
Do we
all
want to
this
trans?
and feeling comfortable being able to do this, all that is just time and practice. This doesn't come naturally. This has been like being able to run this has been years of practice, just on the live network, working events. Everybody learns at their own speed, and it just takes time. Like I train people at work, um, in the center environment, and everybody picks it up and gets things to click a little bit faster. Granted, I don't run finals 5 miles in trail, but you can draw similarities to feeding from the center environment into the Tracon environment and how much space you need and stuff like that. It all comes down to speed control and scanning and practice.
Yeah. To answer we're gonna give a position relief briefing during this. It literally come down to, I don't know. I mean, Brad, if you want to take, if we want to switch controllers, we could switch controllers, but you'd start the briefing, you'd get any time critical task done, and you'd still work while you're briefing.
Yes.
Work the scan
Don't
from the
stop
airport
working.
out. On my side, it would literally be, all right, south final, you're the high runway, headings are normal, 170 final is losing about a mile, traffic, and 4775 gone. Skies 4520 cleared 170 knots to Kins. 2921 cleared 170 knots to Kins. 3684 30 heading 190 speed. 7433 210 1894 210 7452 American 1888 waiting to check on. Done. That's your briefing.
Yep. Anyway, in the interest of time, I think we should probably get the scenario vote going again, but since we haven't really had a chance to touch on it yet, I'll take a second here to talk about inside-out scanning. So as you continue watching, as you continue listening to Bright talk here, I want you guys to kind of pay attention to the way that he's talking to planes. I want you to pay attention to the order. So you'll notice with an inside-out scan, it means scan from the airport out, up the sequence. So pay attention to the instructions that Bright giving. Kind of notice if they're going, up the line, so to say. So, from SkyWest to get Lindbergh, the Delta, Boutique, SkyWest again, 15, 17, and so on and so forth. Kind of pay
Just back
attention to
what
that.
happened earlier with the Delta on the base.
Working through his scan. As he just works his way up the line and out. Anyway.
I heard the guy check on, but I got bigger fish to fry right now.
Yeah. It's not first come, first serve.
We'll also need at some point to talk about independence as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we want to do that real quick and then get going, or you want to keep this?
I guess we can do it real quick, yeah.
Okay.
The biggest thing with the independence, and actually really frees you up for what you're going to end up doing, is it doesn't matter where the other aircraft on that final is. You're not staggering off of anyone except for yourself. So all your spacing is done based off of your airplanes. Now, the key is the altitude issue that they have here remains the same. You have to be established outside of the step down fix, same as independence. But the caveat is they can be side by side. It doesn't matter because the runway spacing is such to where they've been certified to do independent approaches, which is 4,500.
Yeah, 4,300.
Yeah.
4,300 feet between center lines. And the catch there is you're also going to have at all of these airports, typically, you're going to have some kind of point on the final, either capture point or a duals bar or some kind of spot that if you're running independent ILS approaches, they have to be at least that far out on final if there's traffic on the other side.
Yes.
So, and then for trips, it gets even worse because now you've got you add a third, more likely than not, higher altitude runway into the mix, and all of a sudden, triple simul's, you're automatically out to about a 25-mile final if there's traffic for all three runways.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we continue?
Sure.
All right. Gecko, Bright, Lance, you guys all good?
Yes.
Yep.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, play.
Boutique A21, maintain 160 knots.
Speed 160, Boutique 821.
Skywest 3813, maintain 190 knots.
Speed 190, Skywest 3813.
Delta 2152, descend and maintain 4000.
4000, Delta 2152.
Skywest 3813, turn left heading 210.
Left turning 210, Skywest 3813.
Delta 2440, maintain 170 knots. Contact Minneapolis Tower 123.905.
Speed 170, 2395, Delta 2440, see ya.
Delta 1517, turn left heading 150, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Left turning 150, join the 12 left localizer, Delta 1517.
Skywest 3813, flighting 180.
So 3813, heading 180. Low approach cost 7382, 9200, descend via.
Skywest 7382, Minneapolis approach, descend and maintain 6000.
6000, Skywest 7832. Correction, 7382.
Skywest 3813, flighting 150, descend and maintain 3000.
3000.
Skywest 3813, will exit Class Bravo airspace 305 miles.
Roger, heading 150 and down to 3000, and you want us to join Skywest 3813.
Skywest 3813, affirmative, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Intercept 12 left localizer, Skywest 3813.
Boutique 821, maintain 170 knots. Contact Minneapolis Tower 123.905.
Alright, back up to 170 and 2395, Boutique 821, see ya.
Delta 2152, maintain 190 knots.
Speed 190, Delta 2152.
Skywest 3813, maintain 170 knots.
Speed 170 knots, Skywest 3813.
Delta 1517 is over CJ, clear ILS runway 12 left approach, maintain 170 knots to Washi.
170 to Washington, clear ILS 12 left, Delta 1517.
Skywest 3813 is 4 miles from Hamel, maintain 3000 till established, localizer, clear ILS runway 12 left approach, maintain 170 knots to Washi.
170 knots to Washington, clear ILS 12 left, will maintain 3000 to establish, Skywest 3813.
Delta 2152, turn left heading 180.
Left turn heading 180, Delta 2052.
ESQ won't take it.
Is doing the like
No, it's
syntax
not.
here?
No, it's not giving that. It's just saying previously direct zipco. I don't know why. There, it finally took it. It was just lag. I don't know.
Delta 2152 to continue left turn heading 150, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Left turning on 150 to join the localizer, Delta 2152.
You want me to
Two
follow
there.
you?
Yep, 2 there, that's fine.
Skywest 3782, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 210 knots.
Speed 210 down to 4000, Skywest 7382.
Well, the Euroscope simulator is doing a really good job of being bad VATSA pilot. That's the third guy that not take a base turn.
It's just realistic.
I don't know why. It's strange.
Skywest 3813, contact Minneapolis Tower 123.905.
123.95, Skywest 3813.
Delta 2152 is 5 miles from you betcha. Maintain 4,000 till established localizer. Cleared ILS. Runway 12 left approach. Maintain 190 knots or greater to Washi.
190 or better to Washi, 4,000 till established. Clear ILS, runway 12 left, Delta 2152.
Delta 1997 descend and maintain 4,000. Maintain 210 knots.
4,000, speed 210, Delta 1997.
Delta 1997 amend altitude descend and maintain 6,000 to maintain 210 knots.
6,000, 210 knots, Delta 1997. Approach Scouts 4716, 9.6, descending via.
Scouts 4716 Minneapolis approach. Flighting 190. Descend and maintain 4,000.
Heading 190 down to 4,000, Scouts 4716.
Skywest 30, Christian Skywest 78. Christian, we'll try this again. Skywest 7382 descend and maintain 4,000.
4,000, Scouts 7382.
Delta 1517 contact Minneapolis Tower 123.905.
123.95, Delta 1517, see ya.
Skywest 37, Christian Skywest 7382, turn left heading 210.
Left turn heading 210, Scouts 7382.
Skywest 7382, maintain 170 knots.
Slow to 170, Scouts 7382.
I'll follow your Skywest.
Okay.
Low approach Delta 1650, living off at 8,000.
Delta 1650, Minneapolis approach, descend and maintain 6,000, maintain 210 knots.
6,000, speed 210, Delta 1650.
Scouts 4716, flighting 200.
Heading 200, Scouts 4716.
Delta 2152, maintain 170 knots, contact tower 123.905.
123.95, maintain 170 knots, Delta 2052.
Skywest 7382, turn left heading 150, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Heading 150, join 12 left, Scouts 7382.
Scouts 4716, descend and maintain 4,000.
Down to 4, Scouts 4716.
Skywest 7382 is a mile from you betcha, maintain 4,000 till established localizer, cleared ILS, runway 12 left approach, maintain 170 knots to Washi.
170 to Washi and cleared ILS 12 left, Scouts 7382.
Scouts 4716, maintain 170 knots.
170 knots, Scouts 4716. Low approach Delta 1786.9 for 8.
Delta 1786, Minneapolis approach. Delta 1650, descend and maintain 4,000.
4,000, Delta 1650.
You want me to go or you want to go?
I'm turning in. I didn't realize you were taking two there. I can spin one.
Yeah.
And this is where the talking between
Yeah.
finals comes in.
Yeah.
You stop talking and this happens.
Tell you what, I'll go underneath through.
One not approved.
Scouts 4716, descend and maintain 3,000. Expect vector across localizer for space.
3000, Scouts 4716.
Delta 1997, descend and maintain 4000, turn left heading 210.
Left turn heading 210 down to 4000, Delta 1997.
Yeah, sorry, I turned early thinking I was getting out in front of your guy.
Alright. Scouts 3782, contact Minneapolis Tower 123.905.
123.905, Scouts 7382.
And this isn't going to be a huge vector across.
Scouts 4716, turn left heading 090, intercept runway 12 left localizer.
Okay, left turn heading 090 and join 12 left localizer, Scouts 4716.
He's given that instruction before he's even across the localizer.
So now here's where you start talking who's going where.
Delta 1997, maintain 170 knots.
170 knots, Delta 1997.
I'm following your Sky West.
Roger. Delta 1786, descend and maintain 6000.
6000, Delta 1786.
That right there, opposing bases, is why you need vertical.
Yep.
Because if either
Delta
one of them don't
19
take that turn.
Delta 1997, turn left heading 150, intercept 12 left localizer.
Left turn 150, join 12 left, Delta 1997.
Scouts 4716, turn left heading 030.
Left turn 030, Scouts 4716.
See, that's the ESK sweatbox cheat thing. That's what they do. That's a terrible intercept. I don't know why they do it.
Need a better target generator.
Jeez.
Let's enlist the U.S. government. Better.
SimFast will solve all problems.
Good lord. One thing that we're not really talking about though is the C to A on where we're going from downwind to base though.
Yeah, so in our case, our downwinds are 6 miles from the final approach course. So really, you're turning just
You wanna
before a
pause for
beam.
this?
So how
Yeah,
about
let's
we
pause.
do this? How about you guys transition from what you're running here to let's do your traditional 6-in trail for each runway,
Okay.
which would essentially be a 3-mile stagger between both sides. And this way, we can talk about where aircraft are, when we base, when we turn final, what we're looking at, and basically just kind of looking at spacing.
Okay.
All it switch to visuals now?
Yeah,
That would be cool.
Yeah, sure.
Delta 1650, turn left heading 180.
Left turn heading 180, Delta 1650.
Scouts 4716, turn left heading 270.
270, Scouts 4716.
Delta 1786, descend and maintain 4000.
4000, Delta 1786. Approach Limburg 6187, leveling at 8000.
Limburg 6187, Minneapolis approach, expect visual, runway 12 left.
Visual 12 left, Scouts 6187.
Scouts 4716, turn left heading 210.
210, Scouts 4716.
Delta 18, correction, Delta 1650, flighting 150, intercept 12 left localizer.
150, join 12 left, Delta 1650. Approach Delta 2829 is 8 for 7.
Delta 2829, Minneapolis approach, expect visual, runway 12 left.
Visual 12 left, Delta 2029.
Scouts 4716, flighting 180.
Heading 180, Scouts 4716.
Delta 1650, maintain 170 knots.
Slow to 170, Delta 1650.
Scouts 4716, flighting 150.
Heading 150, Scouts 4716.
Limburg 6187, descend and maintain 6,000.
6,000, Limburg 6187. Approach Delta 1368's 10.5, descending via the arrival.
Delta 1368, Minneapolis approach.
So what's your sequence, right?
Scouts 4716, traffic is at your 11 o'clock, 6 miles, 4,000, Boeing 717.
Insight, Scouts 4716.
Scouts 4716, follow that traffic, clear visual approach, runway 12 left.
Follow the 717, clear visual approach, 12 left, Scouts 4716.
Delta 1650 is 3 miles from Ubecha, maintain 4,000 till Sapish. Localizer, clear Alice, 12 left to perch, maintain 170 knots to Washi.
170 knots, Tawashi, clear Isles, 12 left, 4,000 till established Delta 1650.
Scouts 4716, maintain 170 knots to a 5-mile final.
170 to a 5-mile final, Scouts 4716.
Delta 2829, turn left heading 180.
Left turn heading 180, Delta 2829.
Delta 1786, turn left heading 210.
210, Delta 1786.
Delta 1997, contact tower 123.95.
123.95, Delta 1997.
So right now my sequence is Delta 1650, Delta 2829 because I missed the base turn, Delta 1786. Limburg 6187, descend and maintain 4,000.
4,000, Limburg 6187.
Delta 2829, descend and maintain 4,000, flighting 150.
Heading 150 down to 5,000, Delta 2829.
Delta 2829, negative, descend and maintain 4,000.
I thought I said it right. 4,000, Delta 2829. Approach Scouts 3742, 9.5 for 8.
Scouts 3742, Minneapolis approach. Delta 1368, descend and maintain 4,000.
4,000, Delta 16, or correction, 1368.
Delta 1786, maintain 170 knots and flighting 150, intercept 12 left, localizer.
170 on the speed, 150 heading, join 12 left, Delta 1786.
Hey, 4716 is joining, right?
Nice,
I
Vincent.
gave him it.
Just delete him.
Limburg 6187, maintain 210 knots.
210 knots, Limburg 6187.
Delta 2829, traffic 12 o'clock, 7 miles, southeastbound, Boeing 757, out of at 4,000.
Traffic in sight, Delta 2829.
Delta 2829, follow the Boeing 757, clear visual approach, runway 12 left. Maintain 170 knots now until 5-mile final.
Okay, 170 knots till 5-mile final, follow the 757, cleared visual approach, 12 left, Delta 2829.
Delta 1650, contact tower 123.95.
123.95, Delta 1650.
Delta 1786, traffic is at your 11 o'clock, 5 miles, southeastbound, Airbus, leveling 4,000.
Delta 1786, traffic in sight.
Delta 1786, follow that traffic, clear visual approach, runway 12 left, maintain 170 knots to 5-mile final.
Follow the traffic, clear visual approach, 12 left, 170 till the 5-mile final, Delta 1786. Approach Scouts 3821, 9.5 for 8.
Scouts 3821, Minneapolis perch. Scouts 3742, descend and maintain 6,000.
6,000, Scouts 3742.
Delta 1368, maintain 210 knots.
Speed 210, Delta 1368.
Limburg 6187, turn left heading 210.
210, Limburg 6187. Approach Scouts 7404, 9 and 9 for 7.
Scouts 7404, Minneapolis approach, roger.
Small comment here, you can kind of see, just going back to feeder stuff, how they built a hole for Scout 7404 on the base there in 6187 and 1368.
7404 for the south, or is he for the north?
He's for the north.
I have him.
Limburg 6187, flighting 180.
Heading 180, Limburg 6187.
Scout 7404, descend and maintain 5,000, flighting 180.
Heading 180 down to 5,000, Scouts 7404.
Limburg 6187, traffic 10 o'clock, 5 miles, southeastbound MD 90, 4000.
Limburg 6187, traffic, insight.
Limburg 6187, roger, fly heading 150, follow that traffic, clear visual approach, runway 12 left.
Heading 150, follow the traffic, clear visual approach, 12 left, Limburg 6187.
2829's got it.
Thank you. Sky was 3821, descend and maintain 6000.
6000, Scouts 3821. I think we've got the idea down here.
Yeah.
A lot of
So-
questions to go over here.
I think one of the big ones too is
Pause it.
Yeah, let's pause.
What was your last instruction?
My last instruction,
Yeah,
Limburg to,
Limburg
to follow the.
Okay.
So from a C to A standpoint, I mean, really,
Pause, Drew.
yeah, yep. Okay, done. Whoops.
We're SFOing there with SkyWest and Delta.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As it
Minneapolis
should
is SFO.
Delta did a terrible intercept.
It's VATSIM.
Yep.
That would have been a pretty realistic with
Nice.
VATSIM.
On the visual approach to 12 center.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just bulldoze Lindbergh and
Yeah, Jason, that's what we were trying to get to, of basically explaining where Chris is making his decisions for where to base aircraft. And well, why don't you go ahead, Chris, since you were the one basing aircraft?
Basically, if we're trying to run 6 miles in trail, I have a 6 mile downwind, so I can basically, once they're a beam, I can turn them, or maybe slightly sooner if I want to tighten up some space. In this particular case, the Limburg is following Delta 1786. 1786 is already cleared. Delta 2829 is already cleared. Both those will go to tower here momentarily. After the Limburg, my plan is SkyWest 7404. Just go over the top of Delta 1368 underneath of SkyWest 3742, and then just sequence in the downwind traffic. For turning the base, if you're trying to make up space and you did a late base turn, you can try and point them at the traffic. So that's why some of those guys that I left on the downwind heading, I gave 180 headings instead of squaring the base 210 heading. Basically trying to point at the traffic, follow them, keep them fast, kind of catch up a little bit.
Yeah, the big point here would be is if he's trying to go with a 6 mile gap and kind of forget that Limburg 6187 and SkyWest 4704 are there, he'd basically be turning Delta 1368 to a 90-degree left turn now. And that would roll him out behind Delta. You're going to gain mileage per se when Delta 1368 rolls behind him. Actually, can we just simulate that so we can show them the C to A real quick?
Yeah.
Can you delete Limburg 6187 and SkyWest 4704?
7404.
Yeah, sorry, that one. And then Everman, if you would pop up a 5 mile J ball on Delta 1786.
And Lance 210 and 190 speed on 1368.
Roger.
Right.
210 on the heading and 190 speed, you said?
Yep.
I'd be going to 170. But why don't you explain, Bright, then the 190 heading?
Well,
210 heading.
It's
Yeah.
210 heading and 190 speed. 190 speed. Basically because it's going to take him a second to start this turn, so it's going to let me close up just a little bit more.
We're ready to run.
Yeah.
Okay. Hit it.
The Delta 1368, turn left heading 210, maintain 190 0 knots.
210 heading, 190 on the speed, Delta 1368.
SkyWest 3742, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 210 knots.
4,210 knots, goes 3742.
Why isn't anyone tracking 74.4 Lindbergh?
Because we told we were
you can
going to delete them.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, for the purpose
Radar
of the
PO.
scenario, they don't exist anymore.
Scos 3821, descend and maintain 4,000. Maintain 210 knots.
Speed 210 down to 4,000, goes 3821.
Delta 1368 traffic at your 11 o'clock and 5 miles southeastbound MD 94,000.
Delta 1368 has the traffic in sight.
Delta 1368, roger, maintain 170 knots, base Christian, turn shortly.
Speed 170, Delta 1368.
So what we're looking for now is if for Delta 1368 to fall 6 miles in trail, he'll be turning final when Delta 1786 is 5 miles down the final from Delta 1368.
Yep. So conveniently, that's one range ring away.
Yeah, and then if you also look at the PTL, basically where that's pointing based off of the J ball. So the moment that PTL is at the back of the bubble, that's when you can turn. This is my one issue with the 190 speed. If you would have done the 210 and 170, you'll have a little bit of a better turn to the final rather than running them up real close to the
Delta
final.
1368, turn left heading 150, follow the MD 90, cleared visual approach, runway 12 left.
Left turn 150, follow the MD 90, clear visual approach 12 left, Delta 1368.
Scos 3742, turn left heading 210, maintain 170 knots.
210 on the heading, 170 on the speeds, goes 3742. Approach Delta 554, level 9.5 for 8.
Delta 534, Minneapolis Perch, roger. Delta 989, descend and maintain 4,000, maintain 210 knots.
4,000, speed 210, Delta 989.
Delta 1786, contact tower 123.95.
123.95, Delta 1786.
Delta 1368, maintain 170 knots to 5 mile final, contact tower 123.95.
123.95, 170 to the 5 mile final, Delta 1368.
Scos 3742, flighting 180.
Heading 180, goes 3742.
Throw a 5 mile J ball on Delta 1368 now.
Sir.
Basically, right about now is when you should be putting Scouts 3742 on the 150 heading, or did you already?
180. Scouts 3742, traffic at your 11 o'clock, 6 miles southeastbound Airbus at 4,000.
Traffic in
Stack
sight.
lanes.
Goes 3742.
Scouts 3742, follow the Airbus. Flighting 150, follow the Airbus, clear visual approach runway 12 left, maintain 170 knots to 5 mile final.
170 knots to the 5 mile final, heading 150 to join, clear visual approach 12 left, goes 3742.
Thanks, feeder.
Yep, there it is.
Oh
Knew
no,
it
a
was in there
stack.
somewhere. Oh no, what do? We panic.
Yep.
Scouts 3821, turn left heading 210, maintain 170 knots.
Goes 3821, left turn 210, and speed of 180 knots.
170.
170, goes 3821. Approach goes 4806, 8000.
Scouts 4806, Minneapolis Birch, descend and maintain 6,000, maintain 210 knots.
6,200 knots, goes 4806.
Delta 534, descend and maintain 4,000, maintain 210 knots.
210, 4000, Delta 534.
Safety word is that brick.
Scouts 3821, turn left heading 150.
Left turning 150, goes 3821.
Scouts 3821, traffic 10 to 11 o'clock, 7 miles southeastbound CRJ 4000.
Goes 3821, got the company in sight.
Scouts 3821, follow the Christian flighting 150, follow the CRJ, clear visual approach runway 12 left.
Heading 150, follow the company, cleared visual approach 12 left, goes 3821.
NI information.
And
Delta 1568 or crush ending 300 down to 9,000.
proves you.
LH.
Scouts 4806, descend and maintain 5000.
5,000, Scouts 4806.
Delta 989, turn left, heading 180.
Heading 180, Delta 989. Approach Delta 20. Go ahead.
Scouts 3742, contact tower 123.905.
2395, Scouts 3742, get it. Approach Delta 2688, 8000.
Delta 2688, Minneapolis approach, descend and maintain 6000.
6000, Delta 2688.
Scouts 4806, maintain 210 knots.
Loaded 210, Scouts 4806.
Delta 989, turn left, heading 150.
I'm turning on 150, Delta 989. Approach Delta 1568, heading 300, descending 9,000.
Delta 1568, Minneapolis approach, roger. Delta 989, traffic 9 o'clock, 7 miles southeastbound, CRJ 4000.
Delta 989, looking, we have traffic in sight.
Delta 989, follow the CRJ, clears approach, runway 12 left, maintain 170 knots to a 5 mile final.
Follow the CRJ 170 to the 5 mile final, clear visual approach 12 left, Delta 989.
Delta 1568, descend and maintain 7000.
7,000, Delta 1568.
Delta 534, turn left heading 210.
210, Delta 554.
Delta 99, maintain 170 knots to a 5 mile final.
170 knots to a 5 mile final, Delta 989.
Scouts 3821, contact tower 123.905.
123.95, Scouts 3821.
Delta 2688, descend and maintain 5000.
Delta 2688, 5,000.
Delta 534, maintain 170 knots, flighting 150.
Flow to 170 knots, flighting 150, Delta 550 or 534. Approach Endeavor 5231, 9.348.
Endeavor 5231, Minneapolis approach. Delta 2688, maintain 210 knots.
210 knots, Delta 2688.
Delta 534, traffic 10 o'clock and about 5 miles southeastbound Airbus 4000.
Inside Delta 534.
Delta 534, flighting 150, follow the Airbus, clear visual approach runway 12 left, maintain 170 knots, 5 mile final.
Heading 150, follow him, clear visual approach 12 left, 170 knots till 5 mile final.
Scouts 4806, maintain 170 knots, turn left heading at 210.
170 knots and 210 on the heading, Scouts 4806. That's a speed of 170. 170.
Land.
Oh, Delta or SkyWest?
Yeah. Delta 1568, descend and maintain 5000.
5,000, Delta 1568.
Endeavor 5231, descend and maintain 6000.
6,000, Endeavor 5231. Approach Endeavor 5115, 9.3 for 8.
Endeavor 5115, Minneapolis approach. Scouts 4806, turn left heading 150.
Left turning on 150, Scouts 4806.
Delta 989, contact tower 123.905.
123.95, Delta 989.
Scouts 4806, descend and maintain 4000. Traffic 9 o'clock, 5 miles southeastbound Airbus 4000.
4,000, and we have the Airbus in sight, Scouts 4806.
Scouts 4806, flying 150, follow the Airbus, clear visual approach runway 12 left, maintain 170 knots to a 5 mile final.
170 knots till 5 mile final, down to 4, follow the Airbus, clear visual approach 12 left, Scouts 4806.
Delta 2688, descend and maintain 4000.
4,000, Delta 2688.
Endeavor 5231, descend and maintain 5000.
5,000, Endeavor 5231.
Endeavor 5115, descend and maintain 6000, maintain 210 knots.
Speed 210 down to 6,000, Endeavor 5115.
Delta 2688, turn left heading 210, maintain 170 knots.
210 heading 170 on the speed, Delta 2688.
Endeavor 5231, maintain 210 knots.
210 knots, Endeavor 5231.
Delta 2688, traffic 10 o'clock, 5 miles south, eastbound, CRJ 4000.
Delta 2688, I got the baby CRJ in sight.
Delta 2688, flying 150, follow the CRJ, clear visual approach, runway 12 left, maintain 170 knots to a 5 mile final.
Heading 150, clear visual approach 12 left, follow the CRJ 170 till 5 mile final.
Delta 1568, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 170 knots.
4170, Delta 1568.
Endeavor 5231, descend and maintain 4000.
Endeavor 5231, 4000.
4811 to the south side.
Yep.
Yep.
Delta 1568, turn left heading to 180.
Left turning to 180, Delta 1568. Approach Scouts 3920, not sure if we checked in level at 8.
Scars 3920, Minneapolis approach, descend and maintain 6000, maintain 210 knots.
6000, speed 210, Scouts 3920.
Delta 534, contact tower 123.95.
Delta 534, get A.
Delta 1568, flighting 150.
Heading 150, Delta 1568.
Scars 4806, contact tower 123.95.
2395, Scouts 4806, get A.
Endeavor 5115, descend and maintain 5000.
5000, Endeavor 5115.
Delta 1568, traffic at your 10 to 11 o'clock, 6 miles southeastbound is a Airbus 4000.
Delta 1568, traffic in sight.
Delta 1568 on the 150 heading, follow that Airbus, clear visual approach, runway 12 left, maintain 170 knots to a 5 mile final.
170 knots till 5 mile final, 150 heading to join, following the Airbus clear visual approach 12 left, Delta 1568.
I'm turning 4811 in at 5 right.
It's approved. I'll get this Endeavor down.
Yes.
Endeavor 5115, descend and maintain 4000.
4000, Endeavor 5115.
Endeavor 5231, turn left heading 210, maintain 170 knots.
Left turning 210 and 170 knots, Endeavor 5231.
Delta 2688, contact tower 123.95.
123.95, Delta 2688.
Scars 3920, descend and maintain 4000.
4000, Scouts 3920.
Endeavor 5231, turn left heading 210. Correction, turn left heading 150.
150, Endeavor 5231.
Endeavor 5231, traffic at your 9 o'clock and 4 miles southeastbound at 4000 to 737.
Endeavor 5231, traffic in sight.
There 5231, flight A150, clear visual approach, runway 12 left, follow the 750, correction, the 737, maintain 170 knots to a 5-mile final.
Okay, heading 150, cleared, visual approach 12 left, following the 737 and 170 to the 5-mile final.
Endeavor 5115, turn left heading 210, maintain 170 knots.
210 on the heading, 170 on the speed, Endeavor 5115.
$15.68's got it.
Thank you. Endeavor 5115, traffic at your 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock in about 5 miles southeast bound CRJ 4000.
Endeavor 5115, traffic is in sight.
Endeavor 5115, turn left heading 150, follow the CRJ, clear visual approach, runway 12 left, maintain 170 knots to a 5-mile final.
Left turning 150 to join, follow the CRJ, clear visual approach 12 left, 170 till the 5-mile final. Endeavor 5115.
Delta 1568, contact tower 123.905.
1568, bye-bye.
$52.31, get it, Lance?
Did he?
Yes.
Am I looking at the wrong one?
5231.
Should have it.
Maybe.
Or else maybe I'm looking at the wrong one.
I think he's got it.
I think
What
he's
if the
got
world?
it.
I didn't
They're
It's
both
late.
lining up to run over the tower.
Yeah.
Got like a default
We're on
CRJ
the
or
center
something.
runway right now.
That's the end of the problem, though, isn't it? There's like
Yeah,
one
we're
more.
just about there.
Just
Yeah.
call it.
I don't know.
Goes
Yeah, call it there.
3920, turn left heading 210, maintain 170 knots.
210 on the heading, 170 in the speeds, coast 3920.
Endeavor 5321, contact tower 123.905.
Okay, Endeavor 5231.
So one of the points here is that in order to close that gap up, I left Sky was 4811 at 190 knots, and now he's been given a 180 knots or greater to a 5-mile final. Just because I know I've got mileage to play with there.
Sky's 3920, traffic 10 to 11 o'clock, 5 miles southeast bound CRJ 4000.
Scout's 3920, traffic in sight.
Sky's 3920, flighting 150, follow the traffic, clear visual approach, runway 12 left.
Heading 150 to join the final, clear visual approach 12 left, following the CRJ. Scout's 3920. All right. Mission accomplished.
Nice.
All right. Well, Thanksgiving Day. Anyway, I guess we'll open it up to you guys have anything else you want to go over before I open it up to masses?
No, I think we're pretty much covered here.
Just to throw one thing out when you're vectoring to the final here, we'll just throw the scenario out here of shooting for 6-mile gaps on the final as they were trying there. If an aircraft is not yet established on the final, it's ideal to not use that aircraft as your turn reference. For example, where Skywest 3920 is, if I had a downwind there, I wouldn't use Skywest 3920 as my reference for my base turn. I would use Endeavor. So if 6 miles, I've already got 6 between Skywest 3920 and Endeavor, and I need to go 6 behind Skywest 3920. I need 12 between my downwind and Endeavor. It's a 6-mile base, so 6 miles behind Endeavor, I'm basing my downwind. If that makes sense.
Yeah. John Madden this.
Please.
Not artistic enough, but I'll try.
Just don't draw a train.
Uh,
I wouldn't be worried about him drawing a train.
I mean, I've tried to draw one. Yeah,
Oh, you did.
You could just throw up like a 6-mile J-ball even.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe that kind of illustrates it. Maybe not. That is kind of eyeballing it.
Yeah, so ideally, right, your 12 is endeavor to that last red hash mark, right?
What?
Skywest is falling into the 6 miles behind Endeavor. You need your downwind to fall in 6 behind Skywest. I'm not using Skywest as my reference because he's what we would call a broke aircraft because he's not established on the final.
What's going on with 4596?
What's it look like?
There.
Stuff and
Oh,
things.
never mind. I see what you
What's
do.
it look like?
I see. Oh, that's nice.
Coordination was affected.
Yes.
That speed overtake, though.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
he's following. He was told
I
to
see.
follow. He's following.
It's legal. Anyway, yeah, I guess
More
that's
correctly, maintain visual separation with the Challenger for the parallel. Follow company. Clear visual approach. 112 left.
a small CRJ.
So to answer your question, Clay, you don't have to worry about the whole established on before losing vertical and all of that. But if you're opposing bases, you're still going to want to keep separated by altitude.
Because the ultimate question is, what happens if you lose your frequencies?
Exactly.
Which is why positive separation is such a big thing.
You just start working the final on guard. I've seen that.
What if guard
Actually,
goes
I
out?
haven't seen that. I know that happens.
If you can get a word in edgewise between all the meowing.
Right.
Tell us about the 290 heading to St. Paul on 3-2.
Well, to answer that question, Jared, visual separation does work, and it should not be a bailout because a bailout means you did something wrong.
Visual
Because
separation is used to increase efficiency after they're already separated.
that's the key. That's to ensure that separation exists before and after the application of visual. So if it's a bailout, separation hasn't been ensured before the application of visual.
Man, my tower controller is gonna hurt something.
We see it
All
so
right.
often
Okay, we
where
got
it's
this nice
used
healthy-
as a bailout.
Yeah, it
Correct.
shouldn't be beep, 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 beep. Oh shit! Cleared visuals or maintain visual
Maintain
separation.
visual, yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
I've seen that
Conflict.
Anyway,
so many times in events, and it's like, that's not how this works.
anyway, thank you
Cast separation is not a thing either.
for watching that, everybody. That's the end of the scenario. I think at this point we'll open up the floor to people. If you have any questions, anything like that, post them in the training general channel here in the Discord, and we'll try to get to them. 'Cause I guess this is part of the end of the main instructional portion of the masterclass. I'll pop in this Google Drive link or Forms link that Rick wanted me to give out since he was unable to be here today. If anybody, or if you're feeling up to it, feel free to fill that out. It's got a few questions just about what you thought about the masterclass and ideas for potential future classes, etc., etc. Austin might have more to say on that subject.
No, I don't have anything extra to add. I think you hit it right on the head.
So yeah, anyway, like I said, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer. About, how Bright decided to put the sequence together, feeder stuff, etc. Just post it in the training general channel there, and I'll try to get to it.
And I'll just add,
Tower just
I'll
knows
just,
that on that back sky west.
I'll just add too that, you know, even though everyone just sat in on this, you know, you now have the tools you need, but now you need to go to your facility and you have to practice this.
Yeah.
Whether that's on the live
It's-
network or creating a scenario or having your TA create a scenario to make that happen, because unless you practice it in a month, you're gonna forget it.
Yeah.
So
this
make sure that you
Especially,
practice it.
I guess, with FNOs not being single facility right now. Yeah, we're kind of missing opportunities to practice it. But if, you know, your TA or your instructor staff at your home facility has, you know, scenarios kind of built around that, you can take what you learned here and hopefully apply it to your facility a little bit better. And when, you know, things do go back to normal, and hopefully we can go back to business as usual-ish with FNOs, there's something you can apply there. Or just, you know, with general, like, Saturday, Sunday events or whatever as well, too, that get busy.
And
And
doing what they did.
here's something to note too, to go back to, I think it's something Austin had said about, you know, going back to your facility and practicing it there. And that's even if you do just have 3 or 4 or 5 airplanes that are somewhat, or maybe not even that, 2 even, that are just kind of close to each other, maybe let them run just a little bit more and try C to A on them. Just go, all
Yeah.
right, this, you know, my downwind's 5. I want to go 5 in trail, turn at your beam point, do the 170 knots, see what it looks like, just become familiar with it, and just start implementing it as often as you can.
Yeah, or literally, I mean, you know, if you want to practice on a live network, get 3 or 4 of your guys who can fly on the network, have them load up. Just do multiple ILSs to your primary field, and just practice vectoring in a box for a while.
Yeah. Or, you know, if your training staff for whatever reason doesn't, you know, necessarily have it, try to create the fighters yourself. It's not terribly unintuitive software. It's not perfect. You know, even building like a basic sweatbox, you know, to some Charlie or Delta in your airspace, some Tracon like that with like a single radar position. Like say at ZMP, we could do like Sioux Falls, where you just have, you know, 5 or 6 planes, 4 on the downwind, 2 on the base, or something like that, and just, you know, practice that concept.
And it doesn't have to be overly complicated either.
Yeah.
All you need is 2 aircraft and just managing. Because if you know, you just need to manage the speeds and vector in a box, like Drew said. You only need 2 aircraft to do that.
Yeah.
If you're looking for aircraft situation editor, which is what you can use, it's the original author has taken it down, but it is still available on Softpedia or Software Informer, which is there.
Yeah, so make sure you're running Euroscope for the files, because you can, if you have it set up right, you can also run them profile too, which is a lot better than doing everything manually.
And doing what Drew and Chris just did, that won't happen overnight. Like they said, that's going to take practice, and you will screw up. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah, I mean, we screwed up 5 or 6 times just running it.
Exactly.
I think the first time me and Shane took a crack at this scenario was messy. I think the final is out to the 25-mile ring or something.
Yeah.
Right. The big thing is you get better by picking up as far as
one, I guess, other thing to say to that effect is if you're finding yourself, you know, like starting to get the hang of like a particular scenario, it might not necessarily be because you're getting better. It might be because you're learning the problem. So you might want to go back and, you know, change around a few things, just so, you know, you're actually learning instead of, or, you know, learning to work the traffic instead of learning the problem.
Hey, Drew or Everman, do one of you guys want to cover the visual approach rules really quick?
Yeah, I can pull that.
Joe mentioned.
Yeah, I can pull the points back up. 744. Yeah, so approaches to multiple runways. Minneapolis, it's separated by less than 20, or not 2,500, sorry, 25 to 4,300 feet. Yeah. So established on a heading or established on a direct course to a fix, or cleared on an RNAV instrument approach procedure, which will intercept the extended center line at a greater or not angle greater than 30 degrees. And then one pilot has to have acknowledged receipt of a visual approach clearance, and the other pilot has to or acknowledge the receipt of an approach clearance.
I have a quick question actually regarding the whole Euroscope situation. Am I understanding it correctly that you guys had 2 pseudopilots working at the same time? Because are you
This was
There's
EST in?
one pseudo pilot.
It was
Yeah,
one
yeah.
working each final.
Yeah. This
Right,
is
so
this is
one-
split. This is split. This is 2 Euroscope scenarios.
So-
this is a north one and a south one split up.
Ew, okay.
Yeah, so if
There's
you
no
wanted
way
to
I'm gonna
like,
type that fast.
yeah,
If I was
No way.
missing a part where I could do 2 pseudos to one problem, then that
No.
would really open some doors. But okay.
Yeah, I
You
guess
could.
the 3.2 simulator has ways of passing airplanes between pseudopilots, but you lose the ability to, you know,
Type.
you lose the ability to type because I don't think ES key works with.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I see. This is kind of off topic, but have there been any updates to ES key in the last? The one I
No.
have is old. I don't know.
Not that I'm aware of.
Hasn't been
Okay.
updated. How to get the bookmarks? They're just in Chrome by default, I think.
Yep.
Just have to-
There is also a searchable version of the 7110, the HTML version. I personally prefer that.
Oh yeah, the one on FAA.gov is amazing. You can just search anything you want in it. and
Yeah,
it will
there's
pull
this
up the
one. I
section. Yeah, that's
honestly
the
prefer
one.
using this.
That's awesome. Yeah.
sliders. Give me PTSD of work.
How would you know that lately?
Just wanna pretend to be a pilot but get paid to do it, dead man.
Joe just brought up the 4300 plus. If anyone has any questions on that, you can just look it up in the 65. I think we've pointed it out a couple times that it's 7-4-4, so it's just gonna be the same section further down, so you guys can look that up on your own.
And then for those of you wondering about dependent and independent approaches, it should be
5-9.
5-9. And then 3, no 4, wait no 5, 6. It's 6 and 7. Yeah, it's 6 and 7. I got there, okay?
Yep. 596, yep, for simultaneous dependent, and then 597 for independent. Any other questions?
I'll throw one thing out there. You guys can basically throw the whole use or requirement of PRMs or monitors for independent approaches out the window.
Right, yeah, we just assume that those exist on VATSIM.
Exactly.
Because otherwise you go down to requiring them to be staggered, basically.
Yes.
The days when Mini had a PRM.
Or
yeah,
when you go.
Yeah, Atlanta, you're welcome. That equipment came from Minneapolis.
Yep. Stole it.
Well, so did we. Although we can do ILSs to the outboard at Detroit without monitors now.
Right.
For widely spaced parallels.
I think Nolan, I don't think you ever need to really staff a final monitor. You're just gonna, somebody's gonna break them off if it doesn't work.
Yep.
The key is somebody has to make the decision to break them off.
Has to do air traffic stuff, can't just hope. Watch it.
All right. I have to run, unfortunately. This went a little longer than I was anticipating, but you guys, if there's questions, feel free to keep, we'll keep monitoring this Discord channel. I will anyway. I'm sure the other guys, if they're sticking around, can answer a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Brad is a great resource, and that's the other thing. Use your resources. If you have guys, the guys that have had time and gone through the FAA training on some of this stuff, especially like Derek Vento or Brad or guys like that, if you have questions, the book is dry. The book is written by lawyers and is a pain in the ass to interpret in some cases, but there's usually somebody around, and this is where kind of having a centralized spot to ask these questions is kind of nice now, that somebody can usually ping in here and answer a question about the 7110 or about technique or any of that stuff.
Yeah, we have a large amount of real world guys around now, so use them to your advantage. There's no shame in asking for clarification or asking for help. And I'm sure if it came down to it, someone would be willing to sit down with you too outside of your own training staff for Rick and Ice. So you use us and use everyone to your advantage. That's the point of having a centralized medium now. But
Well,
I don't-
everybody, thanks for taking time out of your Saturday. Staying at home and
Yeah.
It's not like we had anything better to do
right.
Yeah.
except watch Tiger King. Maybe I don't know.
That bitch, Carol Baskin. That bitch.
Freaking Baskin.
Baskin bees.
If you're
All
Daniel,
Sorry, to
Murder
open that can
hornets
of
or
worms.
Baskin bees?
If you're Daniel,
Anyway.
you just time out of him playing Train Sim.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna fire up Renee like second.
Good luck, y'all.
I like trains.
I like
I
trains.
love Run 8.
Great. See, somebody gets it.
Run 8 hours a day.
Yeah, man.
What, do you play multiplayer?
Sometimes.
All right, guys. Thank you, Minneapolis. You guys did awesome. I'm heading out. It's dinner time.
Hasta la vista.
Yeah, so I guess we'll hang around here. And
Daniel, do you have a rail
Yeah,
driver?
We'll stay for questions.
maybe. Yeah, I mean, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask it in the training channel there. But yeah, if you guys are looking for a YouTube link or something later on, I'll end up posting it in the masterclass. What's it called? The masterclass thread there on the VATUSA forum. You guys can be able to access that anytime. Also, AJ, Mr. Doubleday here, was streaming that on his Twitch channel too. All the proceeds went to Doctors Without Borders, so I'd like to thank him for putting that onto and getting this masterclass out to a wider audience. And then the VOD for that will be available on his Twitch channel. There's a link in there further up in the channel. I think it's, or otherwise his Twitch is twitch.com/groundpointniner, with underscores between words. Yeah, thanks, Jordan. But yeah, like I said, thanks everybody. If you have any questions, post it in that channel there. I think that just about covers it. Still left here. Bright, you have anything?
Not really, just kind of reading the general.
It's
AJ?
kind of. Sorry.
AJ, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Nope. That's all I got.
Ed?
No, I don't really have anything to add. I was just gonna kind of answer Kalen's question. It's kind of similar to like issuing a heading with a direct. Turn left heading 090, clear direct. It's similar to that. You're gonna fly the 150 heading and then the visual approach clearance, right? So turn left heading 150 as a pilot. I'm gonna do 150. Now I'm cleared the visual to follow the Airbus.
It essentially gets them pointed in the correct direction and eases the intercept angle.
Yeah. Who else?
The real world guys, I guess what they'll say a lot of the time is you'll hear turn left heading 150, join the final cleared visual approach runway.
Yep, exactly. And main thing is when you're getting those guys from on the visual, when we saw Chris do it, when he was getting the guys from the down into the final, you don't want that. You don't want them to stop their turn. You'll see it in the real world too. If you want to link like that MacNom's flight tracker, it's probably pretty dead right now. It's 15 minutes behind, but you'll see a lot of the intercepts are going to look like a teardrop entry. They're not going to have like the proper box turn to final. It's just going to be from downwind right to the final. And
I would tend to disagree with that.
Okay.
It depends on the facility.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just talking Minneapolis.
Because the big issue that you get in, and this happened a couple of times in that scenario, which I didn't really touch on, but you're turning the downwind in so close to the final because you're trying to catch up to get, like, you turned your downwind to base too late. So now you're trying to catch up and get behind your guy on final, that you end up turning too soon and you lose 3 miles laterally with the aircraft on the downwind.
Right, and that's, I think Chris, he kept the guys on the down at 5,000, and then once they had diverging, he put them down to 4. I'm just talking Minneapolis. I'm not talking about any other facility because I can't speak for any other facility because I don't know the airspace. I don't know how it's run. That was just my 2 cents. I think Jordan's actually got some pretty cool videos where he matched that MacNom's flight tracker up with live ATC, and it's actually pretty sweet to see what they do.
Yeah, the only bad side is about it is you don't see the video maps.
Yep,
Yeah.
that is the only bad side. But I mean, you can still see their flight path and kind of get an idea about what's going on, and it's pretty sweet.
I guess I'll post it.
Yeah, if you want to post one of those, that'd be cool. But I don't know if it'd benefit anyone else. I mean, this is typical. This is just an M98 thing, and this class is about final for any facility. Our example is just M98.
One of the things that you've stated to me that helped a lot during training was go listen to the live ATC of your facility real world, if you can at least.
Yep, that right there.
Yeah. So, Eckler's gone. Lance, anything?
No. You guys pretty much you got it all.
All right. I guess I'll cut the recording here, like I was saying. Post train chat and whatnot, and I assume a few of us will probably be hanging out afterward, be around to answer those. So anyway, thanks guys for attending, and some of us will see you again for the next masterclass.